What's going on, guys? I hope everybody is ready and hyped today for the U.S. Online Qualifier, the final Swiss. But before we get started, let's actually say thank you so much, Hikaru, for the raid. Came in with 11,000 from his own Twitch channel. Thank you so much, Hikaru. We definitely love you. Now, today, guys, I'm National Master James Canty III every day, actually. And, of course, here today I have Paul Terwilliger. And actually, tell us a little bit about yourself, Paul.
Yeah, so I work for Chess.com. I'm part of Chess.com's Fair Play team. I help develop and maintain fair play tools for Chess.com. I'm also a Twitch streamer. You can see under my name there, I've got /PawnGrubber. That's my channel, and I try to stream there every day. Play long games for the most part, and yep, that's me.
Nice. Good to have you with us today, Paul. Good to have you with us today. And good to have you today in the chat with the U.S. Championship Online Qualifier, the final Swiss, guys. Now, let's get in today's format and actually see what we have for today. So we went through all of them through November 29th so far. And now today we got some of the big boys really here. Top 20 advanced into today's final Swiss, which is going to be 7 rounds of 10-0. Same time control, but it's going to be less players. And the top 8 advance in this one. And no, actually top 8 advance, no tied for advance in here. So you can't advance if you're tying for 8th place. Not in this one. We have a Sonnenberger to actually do tie breaks on that end as well. Now let's see what's up for the players here. What kind of stakes we have here in the first place spot. First off, 10,000 prize fund. So all the way through 8th, you do get some money. But the first place prize is $3,000 and a spot to the 2021 U.S. Open. Are you excited for that? That is absolutely ridiculous, but we do it here at chess.com. So let's go to the next one. Let's actually go to our schedule. Here we go, guys, all the way up here to December 6th. This is where we are right now, December 5th. The final Swiss, and then tomorrow's going to be the final bracket. So I hope you guys are excited for what's about to come and all the analysis and big boy games you're going to see today. So now, before we get started, let's actually take a look at the Speed Chess Championship bracket. Whoa, look at that right there, guys. We have Hikaru versus Wesley, and then Magnus versus MVL, guys. Now, is the rematch going to be inevitable? What do you guys think about that? Is the rematch going to be inevitable? Is it going to be Hikaru versus Magnus? We don't know, but we probably will see it really quickly. It's going to happen. So we already know. So all right, let's get to it, guys. I hope you guys are excited. It's that time. Now, let's see how much time we have before we get started here. Paul, how do you feel about today? It starts in 2 minutes. Paul, give us some insight on what you think is going to happen today.
Yeah, so 10-0 time controls. That's still faster than most people play with Blitz, but still slow enough that you get some time to think. So I'm expecting to see some quality games. Not so many time scrambles, but still some quality games.
Absolutely. Quality is going to be kind of an understatement of what we're going to see today. Quality and also some monstrous chess. You see all this red, guys? Yeah, I mean, everyone in the chat, just look to the left. Look to the left. You see this. You see the standings there. Do you see all the red, all the titled players here? Every single one of the 20 players are titled. The lowest we have here is what we call super NMs with the 2,500 plus rating in here, guys. So it's going to be exciting. I'm excited for it. We have about 1 minute and 50 seconds before we start. Welcome everyone in the chat here. Tilted Saturday. Hey, James, what's going on? Speedy Indian. We have Max Milnek in the chat too as well. Thank you. Welcome, bro. Yeah, it's going to be exciting, guys. About 1 minute and 30 left. If you see in the top spot right here, we have the prodigy, the young man himself, Christopher Yu, 2797. What a monster. There's GMs here, guys, okay? There are GMs here in today's final Swiss. 7 rounds. Now check this out. Okay. The number 1 person is an IM on paper, guys, on paper. Sometimes you have to actually get to the rank or play like the strength that you should or want to be at before you actually get the title. Right now, he's definitely a bona fide GM, as we can say, but he just doesn't have the title. But we're going to see his play today, and that's what really matters. We're about 1 minute out, guys. 1 minute out. Paul, are you excited for today, bro?
Oh yeah, excited. I mean, especially to see Christopher Yu's play, just because seeing that IM title, but knowing exactly how strong he is, I've heard of him through other events as well. I'm excited to see that as well. Just seeing the quality play, all throughout the board there, just all the titles over there.
Yes, and look at who just jumped in, Paul. You see that? You see who just jumped in the tournament?
Who? Oh, Penguin. Wow.
Penguin GM is in the tournament now, guys.
The Bullet Phenom.
Yeah, the Bullet Phenom. Okay, the Bullet Phenom. Monster, 2847, almost 100 points higher rated than Christopher Yu. Guys, that's a huge difference. Huge difference here. He's the highest rated by a bunch of points here. So he is the favorite, but that doesn't mean that these guys didn't come in here and study all week just for this point today. If they didn't study, well, hopefully the force is with them today, because we don't
I,
know what's going to
I
happen.
I know that Penguin has a reputation for being a bullet phenom, but he's also just an excellent player all around. I mean, he's got that high rating for a reason.
That's right. He has the high rating for a reason. And here we go, guys. The games have started. We have Penguin versus Greg Shahade. Actually, that I am a fan favorite of Greg Shahade. So Greg Shahade's playing here. He has to play the man, the myth, the legend himself, Andrew Tang, which is Penguin GM, right here already. Okay.
I see
Wow.
F3. That seems like a way to avoid the Grunfeld here.
Okay.
F3 just getting some space with the E4 square, and I guess we're gonna get a Benoni like structure. That's what I see here. C5 not yet played, E5 not yet played. Not sure if it's going to be more King's Indian, more Benoni, or where exactly Black's going to strike back in the center here. But for now, White has space.
Yeah, White has space. He's absolutely correct here. With the space, of course, the pawns here in the center. Sometimes even F4 can be a thing, but knight to G4 and even knight to D7. You have to be careful how many times you push these pawns around in this area here. Do you have any experience in the Grunfeld, or are you D4 or E4, Paul?
Oh, I play the Grunfeld a lot as Black. I love playing the Grunfeld. So when I see F3 on the third move there, I'm like, okay, I know some stuff, but this is putting me out of my comfort zone as Black.
Very interesting. What's some of the ideas here that actually Black should be going for?
Right. So the bishop on G7 is just the first thing I see. It's got this very long open diagonal. It's not blocked by pawns. Typically, there's an E5 pawn if it's a King's Indian, or there's a C5 pawn if there's a Benoni. Again, Black hasn't really committed either of these pawns to the center. And so we're going to see how Black opens it up and tries to make use of this bishop on G7. Second of all, the knights on F6 and E5. I'm looking at those, and they don't yet have squares. But in order for White to make progress exactly like this with F4, in order for White to make progress, he's got to give up squares such as the G5 square, or such as the G4 square. Black chose to use D7, but the G4 square is going to remain an open idea for Black later, with the bishop and the knight targeting G4.
I am a King's Indian player myself, and I do like E5 and C5 type positions here. With White actually playing bishop to E3, I do see Queen D2 and castling queenside being some type of attack I can see on the king side here. Usually I'm an attacking player. That's just me. I love tactics. My favorite player is Tau. So this immediately reminds me of some type of Yugoslav position with the queen coming to D2. But the problem that we will have is knight to G4. So queen to D2, knight to G4. And this could be problematic because we do want to use this bishop for attacking chances. So that could be something to pay attention to. Let's refresh. See what the main move is. E6 here, pawn breaking in the center, trying to break up whatever we have here in the center. And this bishop is loose. What I like to say, Paul, is loose pieces lose games. So tell my students this all the time. And if a move like rook to E8 or opening of the center happens, it's going to be pretty scary, especially with this bishop being here and the king being behind all of this in an X-ray with rook to E8.
Now, still looking at this, it does give me a little bit of anxiety to play the Black side, just because Black is breaking the center so late. Again, we've been talking about E5 and C5 because they're typical to play so early. And, Black does have counterplay, but I feel like Black breaking so late with E6, it's that Black is going to run into some tactical problems he's going to have to solve pretty soon.
Give us a line here. What do you think?
I'm expecting White to hold on the D5 square, so maybe E takes D5 and C takes E takes D5 from Black whenever Black chooses to take, or maybe pushing with E5, not sure. And as White, I'm really attracted to that kingside castling, Queen D2, and then maybe just playing for either the E5 break, Bishop H6 is an idea as well. Maybe trying to find a way to play F5, Bishop H6. It's going to be either the E5 break or the F5 break that I'm looking for as White, and trying to make sure I could prepare those and really give Black a hard time.
Interesting. Let's actually see what the live game here is still on. Andrew Tang's move here. He's actually down 3 minutes here against Shahade. So yeah, of course he's a bullet monster, but at the same time, I like to always say that the clock is a piece. You have to use the clock as a piece. So with that being said, of course, right now he's down 3 minutes. Now, of course, he plays 15-second chess, but still being down time doesn't mean that he should be down time, and he should be that comfortable being down 3 minutes here in this position that, it's still the opening in a way. With that being said, of course, any opening, you shouldn't spend as much time right now figuring out everything. So bishop to D4 is what he chose here. He should have some type of line here. He did move out of the way of rook E8 because this was annoying. And just like Paul said here, taking on D5 and worrying about the E file now. So now Black or White has to figure out which way do we want to capture. If we take this way, what's our issue, Paul? What do you think an issue is if we taking this way?
Yeah, I think this is the stronger way to take, actually. You know, white has the open C file, black is the open E file, and this is sort of the way that I see the game moving forward. But I guess the problem with taking with the C pawn, I don't see too much problem with taking with the C pawn. Again, black does strike at the E4 pawn, but E4 seems like it seems like it's a pretty sturdy pawn. It seems
Yes.
like bishop D3, queen C2, and then later a rook E1. E4 is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. And that's actually what he's saying here. And what we're banking on here is actually rook to e8 because this is a problem. You can't move it. What he said was bishop d3, queen c2 before pushing e5 due to the fact that the d5 pawn is hanging. So if something as simple as rook e8 and e5, we actually drop this pawn here. So you have
Right.
to be careful of that. So he says bishop d3, queen c2. So in that case, we may have to break with c6. Let's actually go with the live game.
If bishop d3 right away, you still drop the d5 pawn because the pawn the pin the pin on the e4 pawn. If you start with bishop d3 instead of queen c2, so queen c2 keeps the e4 pawn from being pinned up against the king. Right, you still drop the d5 pawn.
Maybe even taking with this knight might be
exactly.
slightly better. Could be the same. But yes, he's correct
So
here.
queen c2 is the start.
Yep. And now we go back to the game, guys, and you see it. Queen to c2 is here, and he's defending the e4 pawn. He's defending it, but he doesn't want to do it to bishop to d3, just like how he said here. And here we go. He says c5 instead of c6. Sometimes the problem with the c5 move, being a King's Indian player myself, when playing f5, usually sometimes against, or even h5, you can't actually, he doesn't have to en passant. That was the kind of the key there, but he did en passant. He did take it, allowing white to have some type of counterplay here. I guess the d file is a little open here. Black has some play as well. As you see, the engine says it's about equal, which fairly so. I always say there's two evaluations. There's a human eval, like how does this look for a human? And then what does this look like for the engine here? As a human, I actually like black's position just due to the pressure here. E4, we have some open lines eventually for bishop a6. I just feel, and his king is still in the center. So objectively equal, but I do have a slight chance, or I like black preferred a little bit, especially me being a King's Indian player with my bishop on g7. What about you, Paul?
Yeah. And when I look at white's position, I feel like if I just give white two moves, then white's better. If white just castles and plays bishop d3 or even bishop e3, I'm not sure. White's better if white gets those moves for free, but white's behind, and you could feel that. White had this big space advantage, and I feel like white just hasn't really translated that too well into a middle game advantage, and white is kind of behind despite having a space advantage.
That is correct. He's 100% correct. I guess Bobby Fischer, Bobby Fischer says that to get squares, you have to give squares. And that's actually what's going on here. It looks like we're giving some squares, and we kind of have to. But the more we open up the game, we still know that the king is in the center of the board. So that's something to worry about here. Now, Greg is in the hot seat now, as he's thinking about what should I do? Should I move my knight or should I capture? A lot of times they always say you should keep the tension. This is what grandmasters say. Keep the tension in the center. So maybe not capturing and maybe something like knight to d5, but that's that. And he goes for it immediately. But this is scary, right? I mean, let's see what happens. I'm always into the lines.
I'm looking at that f4 pawn. I'm looking at that f4 pawn.
But the rook's hanging, so maybe bishop b7 first, and then knight takes f4.
Yeah. Bishop b7, just it looks so good. Hanging. Bishop b7, just getting the you get those two bishops on those long diagonals. They're just really exerting a lot of pressure on the position. And that f4 pawn.
Queen c1, rook c8, queen d2. I mean, are we holding here? How is he possibly holding?
White's still not castled.
Yeah, he's still not castled. But how do we break through? Maybe bishop h6. I don't know. This just looks disastrous, right? So let's see what happens. Knight d5 is on the board. I think you just got to get your king out of the way. Sometimes you just got to do it. Like, no matter what's going on, we just have to castle. Like, you have to get some king safety good, at least some type of king safety before this whole position collapses. Castle now, f4 is actually hanging now, right? So he does go for it, and he goes for the line. He has jumped off the deep end, guys. The game is about to be over very, very quickly. Oh, my goodness, Paul, are you ready? Did you think this would happen, Paul?
I didn't. It looks, I'd love to play black here. This is just excitement, just seeing how black is going to execute this attack, because it just looks so good here.
Oh my goodness.
I don't need the eval bar to tell me just how powerful black's position is after bishop b7.
Right. This is absolutely ridiculous. Bishop b7 is coming. Knight takes f4. Everything. Now, I think he went for this line. He's probably going to go for this. Knowing Andrew Tang, he's extremely strong. He finds all the lines. This is probably the line he was looking at and saying, I'm holding. And remember, actually, before we even got here, I was like, I mean, yeah, I feel black's winning, but like, what do I actually do? How do I finish this off? It's nothing immediate yet. Bishop h6 is a move, but let's actually look at it. It's hitting this pawn. You want to keep the threats up. Always keep the threats up. And then after g3, I do see this file opening, and black's like -4, but what's the kill shot? And that's the problem here right now. is what's really the kill shot. Maybe it's something subtle. Maybe it's a quiet move, something like that. But there's no kill shot yet, and that's going to take some time, especially here in these faster time controls with 10-0. It's not that easy to figure out. So let's see. Oh my goodness, this is the live position on the board. Wow.
Yeah, the
So
ideas I'm attracted to here for black are f6 and g5. Normally that weakens black's king, but black just has such good control over the center and especially the diagonal to the king that f6 and g5, these are the two pawn breaks that I'm looking at. I'm trying to make them work. Do I play bishop h6 first and then f6? Can I just maybe throw in some g5 or,
oh my goodness, he just snapped it. He just said, forget about it, Andrew Tang. I don't care what you do with your penguin friends. Knight takes f4. I'm taking this right now. Knight takes f4. But this is not the way he should have played, as the engine evaluation goes back down, actually, from -4 to -1. Now, of course, you still would prefer to be black here. I just don't think that this was correct. Maybe it's just a little bit too bold. Unless he has something we're missing. Let's actually see it. Is it bishop takes f3 first, followed by pawn takes? Or is it pawn takes first? We don't really know here. Maybe pawn takes. I don't know. Bishop takes f3. This looks, yeah. So bishop takes f3 would be winning immediately due to all these pins right here. So actually, knight takes was the other move. But then we have what, f6 now?
Yeah, f6. Just
You
because the
could
bishop
also
on e2
just
is so weak. It can't, the knight
correct.
the knight on e5 can't move.
Bishop c4 though. King.
Oh, bishop
Oh,
c4.
but that's winning still. He can't move the knight, so I can just go king h8 and it's pinned.
Can you ignore the knight on f4? Do you have to take it?
That's a great question. I think you have to take this knight, though. Let's see. Let's actually see what the live move is. He hasn't played the move yet. You might have to take this knight. I'm taking here. I'm taking here. Like, this is a family channel. We have to make sure you got to take this knight. You have to take this knight.
If everything's losing, can I try? Can I just try castling and see if I can consolidate in any way?
Okay. Castles. How about maybe pawn takes first, just to do something extra?
Yeah, this looks bad.
He's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble here, guys. And that's what he did. Look at you, Paul. He was like, you know what? I don't have to take the knight. Castles. And he's going now. I mean, this should be the move here. Pawn takes. Pawn takes is a nice in-between move, because if we hit him with the in-between move, well, this is with check. Yeah, this would be bad. There you go, guys. Greg Shahadi takes the pawn here. Bishop has to move somewhere, it looks like. Maybe rook to d8 to follow. But, man, Andrew Tang is now down that same 3 minutes, guys. And as time goes on, that same 3 minutes starts to get very, very scary when he gets in time trouble here. 10 minutes is only an extra 5 from a blitz game. So it's not that much time here. So you do have to be very, very careful on how and when you use your time. The bishop's on e3 hitting the f4 square. I mean, I might go rook to d8. Maybe this rook to d8, because if queen to e1, I might be able to go rook c2. But then he just takes it. Then there's like a lot here, right? He's going to take this knight. This knight has to be eliminated.
Oh, yeah. That
So
knight's
how do
too
we
strong.
keep it? Like, how do we keep it? Is there a way to keep it?
Is it? Yeah, who's the move? It's black to move right now, is it?
It is black to move.
Yeah, it's black to move. I'm not sure. I mean, here's the thing. Black is up so well in the position that you could even take on e2 and just still be better.
Yeah,
it's obviously not the most critical idea, but you could still be better after taking on e2.
That's correct. Paul is actually correct there. Absolutely. With rook to d8, hitting the queen. But actually, he's right. Like, you could do it, honestly. These are one of those positions that, even a6 is still winning, but you shouldn't play this. But, there's just different ways to play this position. He did choose the rook to d8 line, and he chose exactly the line I went for here. But I didn't like the fact that he can consolidate and he can just kind of trade a little bit. And when trades happen, the attack that you thought you had actually diminishes very quickly. So we have to eliminate this knight. I mean, I don't really see any other thing he should probably be doing. Maybe rook takes d8 first, but eventually we're going to snap this knight. He also has crossed the line. I have a nice rule. When they cross the line, they have to go. Anything from 5 to 8 is all of black's territory. So we're all in white's grill here. Knight f4. We got a rook on c2. This bishop is basically crossed the line. I mean, this is ridiculous. All these pieces are hitting the king at this time. So we have to eliminate some by trading. Bishop takes f4. And then let's actually see what happens. Of course, now this is really hanging. Honestly, this is just a winning endgame. It's got no
squares.
Yeah, he's just not going. It's just a winning endgame for black, right? It just doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. And this is what we hope for. This is what you hoped for out of the trades. I mean, that doesn't look good. So he's looking for something greater than that, but that might be the only defense. You can't even move the bishop anywhere. And there it is. He removes the knight because it has to go. It literally has to go.
Yeah, when I'm thinking from Black's perspective here, I'm thinking I've got so many good practical moves here, and my opponent's low on time that I feel like if I just draw the game out and continue to keep the
Oh my
pressure up, I'm going to
goodness.
get sort of a time advantage.
Oh,
Oh, Bishop C4.
Bishop C4. That man's swinging back. Yeah, I'm getting
Yeah,
hit, but I'm going to swing back on the ropes here, is what he says. Bishop
yeah.
C4. Now, here's the
Don't take
idea,
that
guys.
bishop.
If queen takes C1, hey, he jumped off the deep end. Somebody get him. Send a stretcher to his address. We have it on file. Bishop F8 and hit him here. And that's a wrap. That's game over. Nice move. So that's a nice little trap. Now, how about rook takes D1? Well, hey, that didn't work either. Big fella, start a new one. Queen takes C1. So you have to be very, very careful here in both of these lines. Now, I wonder if queen C5 is a move. Queen C5 is actually check. It's hitting the bishop, and you do have to worry about this, but you have back rank problems slightly. I don't really know about that. What about like King H1? You got to do something. You have to defend. Rook takes
Honestly,
D1.
honestly, this is what Black, this is what White has to do though. White's
Oh
losing,
my
and White has to
goodness.
complicate this kind
Oh,
of game.
that's gross. You have to take with the queen. Yo, Andrew Tang is just disgusting sometimes with his moves here. Bishop C4 is nasty. Whoa, that is just nasty, guys. We just wow. So what do you actually do here? Now, of course, Black's still winning, but he did set up some deadly traps here, and it's helping him catch up on time. He's actually now only a minute down on time here. Only a minute down. And Queen C5 did happen. He played King H1 fairly quickly here, and now he's contemplating, should I take this rook? Should I take this rook? Let's actually look at that again. It's rook takes D1. Oops, sorry, no. Yeah, you have to take this, right? You have to take this. Check. What if I go Queen F8 instead? Because this is hanging two different ways. So now you got too many pieces hanging. Maybe bishop takes, queen takes, takes. How does this look? This is miraculous. I mean, wow, Black's still winning. That's such a great position that you're still winning. This is the line, guys, and this
That's
is
oh wow, that
exactly
was
what
played.
happened. This is exactly what was played here right now. Queen F8, rook takes, and this is the line, and Black's still winning in this line, guys. He's still winning. Like, he's still up. The position was so good for Black that he's still up material here. Now, Andrew Tang is going to fight for his absolute life here, but
There's some rook checks. Rook D8,
correct.
rook
Rook check,
D7.
rook D7. Yep. So you might have
Yep.
to go back rook DC7 right now, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of an ugly move to make in this position. Shout out to Andrew Tang for fighting like the beast
Or
that
rook
he is.
C1, trading off that rook. That rook's too.
Yeah.
The white rook is too powerful.
Now he says it's going to be two bishops here, bishop versus bishop, but the time here is definitely very close now. Now it's in 30 seconds. Kenty spot on tonight, looking feeling good. Oh, baby, let's, Tariq, come on now. Man, I'm just feeling good watching the big boys play, and it feels good that you get confirmation from the big boys when the big boys is playing exactly the same thing. So it's pretty nice, right? King to G1. Now we do have two bishops here, but I have to commend Andrew's play. I just have to. I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. Andrew played a monster game, even having a terrible position. This doesn't look that it's bad. Okay, it's bad. Two bishops, in an open board with an end game. Black's absolutely pushing for the win here, but from what it was actually, that was like, how did he get here? It's almost like, yo, you deserve a draw out of this. You deserve a draw out of this. I mean, it felt really good to see that. Actually, what do you think, Paul?
Yeah, Penguin had a severe time deficiency. It was like 2 minutes to 5 minutes. And what I'm looking at right now is the time's basically equal. Okay, this is a classical game. Black's going to win the game. This is basically a bullet game now.
Yep.
It's actually very unclear who's going to win the game. This is,
I think, you know what? I'm gonna just throw this out there. I think Andrew Tang is either going to draw or win this because of the time now.
yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
Andrew Tang is the bullet machine. We all know this. We've seen how he plays bullet chess, even 15-second chess. This doesn't even make sense. But with that being said, guys, I just think he's going to
Pawn
look
on
at, and there's
G4.
a
There we
pawn,
go.
right? And
There we
there's one
go.
pawn because he's getting in time trouble, and Andrew Tang lives right here. He lives right. He can play probably 50 moves before this time runs out. 30 seconds,
This is what he does.
even more. This is what he does day in and day out, right? So he's
He's the
either going to draw
highest
these.
rated player in the pool for a reason too.
That's right, guys. That is right. And Andrew Shahadi, Greg Shahadi is going to probably, if he loses this game, he's probably going to throw. He's strong. He lifts weights and stuff, right? So probably going to break something. So be around. Okay, if you got his phone number, give him a call or something. Make sure he's okay. Takes
G4. That was, there was en
you
passant on G4. Black
brilliant.
missed that.
But King takes E3 though, right? Bishop's hanging.
Oh, the king was attacking. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
the
right.
king
There
was
was
on
no
three.
en passant. You're right.
That's why I did it. But I mean, shoot, like, what do you actually do here? Honestly, this is a scary one. I
This,
think it's pretty scary. Oh, look at black. It says black's crushing. Oh my god, he can't stop it. Knight b5. Knight b5. How is this
yeah.
crushing? I don't get how it's crushing for black. I mean, end games are something. End games are miraculous, but it says black's absolutely crushing. Hit him with the check, yeah, and then go back to b5.
8
Absolutely.
seconds. 8
Check him
seconds.
again. Knight c2, yeah. Knight d4.
6 seconds.
Oh my goodness, he gonna flag him. He's going to
5
probably flag him.
seconds.
Oh, he can't take the pawn. Oh, he hung his knight. He hung his knight and knight.
3
Oh
seconds.
my
3
goodness.
seconds.
He
That's
hung it.
a time trouble
it.
blunder right there.
Greg Shahadi for the win. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Mate, he missed mate. Please don't stalemate him. Come on, don't do this. All right, come on, Greg. Greg stood up and he just flexed real hard. He just flexed. He works out and stuff. He literally just flexed the hardest he have ever flexed in his life just now. That I felt that. I felt that flex, Greg. I felt that. Wow. And he takes him down. He takes down the penguin. Oh my goodness. He did. He beat him. Unbelievable. Not unbelievable, but
I
I mean,
feel like being up on time here by 5 seconds is a bit of a statement too. Saying, yeah.
I'm up 5 seconds on Andrew Tang.
Yep.
Mark that, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, frame this one. Christopher Yu. And now back to Greg again. Now he has another big dog. Actually, a smaller but big dog because he's very young. Christopher Yu versus Greg Shahadi. Strong one. So actually, what is this opening? I am not familiar with this too much. I'm a more King's Indian. What is this, Paul?
Very close to a Grunfeld. If there were d4 played, this would be a Grunfeld.
Okay.
If d4 were played, it'd be a Grunfeld. It's not quite. It's in English, and it's black's attempt to get the lines he likes in the Grunfeld, but he's not quite gotten it. Right? Not quite gotten it here. And with the queen on b3 and without the bishop on d7, like it would almost be a Russian system of the Grunfeld, and it's just not quite there. And so I feel like Greg is maybe positionally understanding what's going on here, but he's definitely, there's a definite chance that he's out of book here. There's a definite chance. Because this is
you say him as in Greg or Christopher Yu?
Oh, Christopher Yu. I mean, I can't tell. Yeah, I feel like as black, you don't prepare this as well as you prepare this as white.
Right. I think white's doing actually absolutely fine in some type of
yeah.
Catalan positions. I do have some students that play similar positions. I'm not a Catalan fan. I'm an E4 for life guy. So E4 for life. But he does this I've actually seen many times with D4 and E4 being an aggressive system, actually, because it doesn't look as aggressive now because there's nothing in the center. But once both of these pawns get to the center, black usually has to rethink what happens in this position. The bishop's kind of misplaced on d7. The knight would love to probably be on d7 with the bishop outside the pawn chain, maybe bishop g4 or f5, or even fianchetto in the bishop. But at this point, it's not that it's a wasted move, but the bishop is misplaced here. And now it's actually white's move, though. Christopher Yu finds d4 as the move here for you Catalan players, if you are Catalan players, anyone?
There's actually a lot of games where white gets d4 and e4, and then black still goes knight c6 without going c5 to prepare the e5 break. And then black says, bring it on. If you're going to go d5, I get some squares. If you go e5, I get some squares. And there's a body of theory in similar positions. It's not quite this, but similar positions where black goes knight c6 without c5.
Interesting. Very interesting here. Actually, and a lot of times I try to refrain from putting my knight here unless I know the absolute theory, what's going on, because I get cramped positions based off me having no really center control. And even the c-pawn guys, especially people in the chat that don't know this, the c-pawn, no matter if you're white or black, the c-pawn actually helps you with the center. So if I play c6, which is not, let's just make a move for white. Or it's black's move, right? Yeah, so c6. Not that this is the move we should be making here, but it does have center influence. So when we do eventually get e5 in somehow, some way, we don't have to worry too much about the center collapsing or black having a total control over the center. With two pawns like this, because of the off-center pawn, which is the c-pawn, that does help. And this is why you should usually push a c-pawn or to c5, c6, or with white c3 or c4 almost every game. If you notice it, try to pay attention more of that, of like, to see what games actually push the c-pawn with white or black and see how they do it actually. So he chooses bishop e6 here, provoking d5. What do you think about that actually, Paul?
Yeah, bishop d6. If d5 is played, then black gets what he wants, because what black is afraid of is that he doesn't know whether e5 or d5 is coming. Black has to always in every position say, e5 comes, I calculate this, d5 comes, I calculate this. But when you provoke d5 and you know that it's already there, you could play around that. You could plan around that.
And this is what I actually didn't like. I mean, this is what I wanted as white here. I mean, e5, knight d7, bishop f4, and I'm sitting here laughing at you right now, trying to figure out what's the next move. You can play f6. Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to play e6, and it's getting ridiculous. I have a pawn on e6. It's getting pretty ridiculous at this point. Now, these are weaknesses, but at the same time, you have to attack the weaknesses and play the most aggressive moves to follow up with the style of play you chose here. So bishop to f4 looks really good, but I mean, this is scary. Let's actually see the live game. Did it actually happen? And this is the live position actually right now, guys.
I was looking
E5
at
is on the
98.
board.
98 e6. That's
98,
what I look at.
nice.
That's what
98
I look
actually
at.
is better. Yes, I
Yeah.
like 98 because it keeps the bishop line open. So bishop f4 still isn't it. I don't have to play this, but maybe I should anyway to play castle queenside to put some protection on this. So if bishop f4, f6, castle queenside, and he does break up this pawn structure. Actually, well, engine went crazy.
There was
So
still
it must
e6
be yeah, there was
instead of
E6.
castles, right? There was e6 instead of castles
Yeah, you're
for
right.
white.
And actually, I think here is probably just d6. Is that
Oh,
winning?
d6. Yeah,
Was it a
d6 is
check?
good too.
But how is it like winning though? Oh, I'm winning material after castles, taking on c7, and then taking on f6.
Oh,
Nasty. So if I take with the queen, if I take with the queen, queen takes, knight takes, and I'm winning material, guys. Look at that. Tactics win games. I hope you had your tactics for breakfast today. Let's castle and let's actually see what happens. I'll go back to the live position. So after knight d7, which Greg chose, I would have went bishop f4. e6 is not prepped yet, and I say e6 is not prepped because of this move. Knight to b6, and then after you see this trade, you know, now bishop f4, you can't even play, and yeah, white's winning. I think white's slightly better, but we're still undeveloped, which black is too. Black is definitely undeveloped, but at least I had an extra move, right? Like here, right here, I don't have to play. I can play bishop f4, I develop with still the option of e6, and if knight b6, I go back. Now I'm actually prepared to castle before actually before I had to play e6. I can play e6 almost whenever. I think he jumped the gun a little bit there. And look at black trying to, do what he can here, giving up the dark square bishop. What do you feel about that, Paul? He gave up the dark square bishop. Are you serious? Would you do that, Paul?
I wouldn't for sure. I actually felt like black had a half decent game without taking on c3, and the eval bar tells me that it's almost equal, but I wouldn't feel that as black. If I were a human in this position, I'd be scared. I'd say there's diagonals open to my king. Both the light and dark square diagonals are open to my king, and I'm afraid of checkmating ideas on the king. Honestly, knight g5. Correct. Bishop comes up to the c3 or b2 squares. Bishop comes up to the c4 square eventually. Things like this, and I'm looking at all that, and I'm afraid.
Yep, I would be afraid too as well. I would never. Usually, guys, they even say that this bishop, the dark square bishop, is even in the Finchetto lines. If you play the dragon, accelerated dragon, King's Indian defense, the modern, when you give up this bishop on g7, it's actually stronger than a rook. So if you can actually give up this bishop for a rook that can be taken, so if of course you can take a rook with your bishop and then they capture it back with a queen or another rook on the first rank, you actually gave up your best and strongest piece around the defense of your king and an offensive piece as well, sometimes attacking the king on the king side. But it's a problem. I don't like it. I do not like giving up that bishop here. But he's saying, you know what? I'm Greg Shahade. I have strong muscles, and I'm going to flex them right here and give up my bishop and win this game is what he's going for. Because at the end of the day here, this is not that easy. Bishop to c4 is going to be a problem. You also gave up your dark square bishop, which I have the squares here. So we don't know what's going to happen. This is not that easy. This is not that easy.
Bishop b5 is a bit of a surprise to me, honestly, because I thought bishop c4, yeah, e6 looks good, but e6 also creates maybe a weakness on f6. And I thought provoking e6, blocking in that light squared bishop and maybe using those dark squares later might, yeah, maybe not immediately, but just looking at those dark, yeah, bishop g5 immediately maybe doesn't work, but still looking at those dark squares.
I mean, I'm a fan of this kind of stuff.
I like this.
He does have knight a5, but
I like this.
I'm this kind of guy. Yeah, I like this for white. Absolutely. I have the bishop pair, and your bishop looks bad on c8. I mean, it's only defending the e6 pawn. Like, not that good. Let's actually see the live position here.
Bishop b5 is a bit surprising, I think.
Yeah, I think he's doing okay now. I think he's doing slightly better, but I still, and the engine likes black. I mean, they love black's position. I am not a fan of like black's position that much. I think it's just too many holes, and the king is kind of loose. But I guess engine's like, well, yeah, your king's looking crazy too, and you're undeveloped. But I think white's faster for some reason.
If the king were on e8, I would say knight e5 is fantastic, right? But there's just not enough time to move this knight out of the way because obviously the knight on c6 is just not pinned. The knight on c6, it's holding the e5 square, it's holding the d4 square. This knight on f3 has got really not useful squares to go. The g5 square is open, but it doesn't do a whole lot. The light squares that you target from g5 are just not incredibly useful. So I'm looking at some sort of exchange on f3. Bishop takes f3 right now is what I'd really be interested in. Because
Yes, actually, correct. I believe so too as well. I don't wonder what Christopher you has planned, guys, for bishop takes f3. Of course, we can't take here. That would just be a fatal, not a fatal blunder, but I mean, it's just opposite color bishops now. And this is actually, I think, black's doing quite fine. G2's hanging. We don't have to worry too much about this anymore because we have it defended by the rook, and there's no, or actually, there's not many pieces you can attack me besides your queen with that. Let's actually see the live position and what happened. Nothing yet. So he's contemplating, should I take here or should I take here? Let's actually see what's played.
Yeah, bishop takes f3. I'm immediately drawn to bishop takes f3 because that queen just can't take back on f3.
Yeah, the queen can't take back. Obvious reasons, guys, right?
Cannot
take back.
And I'm not too worried about the b7 pawn. This is the king is still in the center. Yeah, if white finds a way to take on b7, I feel like rook b8 and black just gets so much activity here.
Yeah, everywhere activity. I mean, everything's looking great. Everything's looking great here. There it is, Paul.
There
bishop takes f3 is on the board now. Bishop takes f3.
Rook b8 now, and I love black.
Yeah, rook to b8. Absolutely, I like rook to b8. But what about just captures? What do we do on captures? What if we just move the bishop? What if we just move the bishop?
Bishop takes g2.
Yeah, bishop takes g2. Is this the live position?
Yeah, this is the live
position. What? Bishop takes g2. I don't see a way. Like, what are we doing? Bishop takes g2.
Bishop takes g2.
Bishop takes a8. What if I just take your rook? Actually, oops, that's a blunder.
Yeah.
Do that. Don't try that at home. Bishop takes h1.
Right. We got to keep defending d5.
I'm defending d5 still at the same time here. Man, Greg is playing. If he takes on g2, guys, Greg is playing some of the best chess in his entire life today. Okay, taking out the penguin man himself. And now playing Christopher Yu in a very interesting position. Now, of course, we do not approve of the bishop takes c3, but if you can prove it over the board, then we have nothing else to say but to believe it. So bishop takes f3, bishop takes b7 is on the board. I highly believe in bishop takes g2 here. I highly believe in it, but let's see what happens. Maybe there's something we're missing. So let's see.
And I'm seriously impressed here. In both the first and second game, Greg Shahade was playing black. Greg Shahade fell into problems with space, and Greg Shahade just found really tactical ways to fight back that, I'm just wondering if this is going to continue for the rest of the tournament.
That is correct. Sometimes you have 2 good games and then lose the rest of them. Like, oh man, I was playing like a beast, and then I just lost every other game. Now, rook to g1. This is the line, guys. They went bishop takes g2 and rook to g1. Let's do a quick piece count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're even, but it feels like black's up something. For some reason, I just feel like black's up something. We are up a pawn, but I mean, it feels like we have more than just a pawn now. But let's see what happens, guys. What do we do? Bishop d5. He played rook to g1 and maybe rook
I like bishop f3, actually. Well, actually, no, bishop f3, bishop takes a8.
He actually went for it. No, you're right. Bishop f3. But you're right, though. You are correct. You can just take the rook. And we have an interesting position here, guys. This is what you call compensation. What the compensation is, if you see even evaluation bar, they do favor white. It's actually equal, honestly. I mean, it's basically an equal position. But white actually is up not a full rook. He's up in exchange. So in exchange for my knight, he has a rook. So we have to be careful here. But white's king is a little bit loose. Black's king is too as well. But because it's an open board, there's a lot of room for play. A lot of room for play and navigation. And let's see what happens in the live position. And that's exactly where we are now, guys. So now we're going to have some real good technique here we're going to be looking for to see who can convert this game. Rook to g3. This is completely an equal game. Now, as a human here, looking at this, if you're playing with black, you do have to have confidence in your compensation, because if you don't, you're going to play moves that just suck because you're like, oh, I'm going to lose. Oh, I'm down in exchange. I should just lose. When you may be even missing a winning combination or something similar. Knight to b6.
I was going to say knight b6.
What was your idea, Paul?
Queen e4 check, and the queen defends f3. You have to move the knight. There's no other squares. You can't go to f4, e3, c3, or b4.
Right.
b6 is what's left.
Right. Knight b6, bishop e3. He's developing his last piece, so
don't let that king castle.
Actually, he can't castle. Bishop f3, so he has to play like rook c1. So maybe, I don't know, what, queen e4 anyway, but also queen b7, which is a weird move. I just want to get to a6. That was my idea.
Queen e4 holds the c4 square, so the knight reroutes to c4.
Nice. Bringing the pieces in closer for more damage, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Be very, very, very careful with this position. As you see, yes, I'm up in exchange, but just because you're up in exchange does not mean you're going to win the game. I'm sure there's many games that you just probably were confused about. If you're an underrated player or an under 2,000 player, you may have thought, why am I losing this game? Or why am I not just crushing? Because the exchange, the material does not say that the game is just going to be winning. You have to be careful of that kind of stuff. Knight to d5, he's hitting e3. He did stop knight to c4 with rook to c1, and now he's like, all right, we got to trade him, big guy. We got to trade something, bro. And now they like black. It's actually equal here. What's the best move? You can't trade. Like, we just can't trade, right? So that's off the books. No trading. But what is the move? Queen e5 or queen e6?
I'm trying to find a way to make knight takes e3 work. Knight takes e3.
I was trying it too. Yeah, knight takes e3 looked cool, but I didn't see any checks after.
Knight e3, knight e2. I mean, sorry, knight
G2.
g2 it was the idea. Yeah, that was.
They just take it.
Trying to make that work.
Queen f5 is on the board now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe trying for knight takes e3 and eventually somehow getting to f2. So a move like bishop to h5 or even bishop to e4. Now that the king can't castle due to both of the rooks moving and eliminating that option for us, now we actually just have a king in the center of the board. So something like bishop to e4, maybe followed by knight takes e3, or even bishop h5, trying to keep the king on this, out of this box here, or out of this square, to be able to take on e3. So something like, let's see what white does. Oh, he plays rook g5, so that cuts it out. That cuts it completely out. Queen h3.
Just queen h. Yeah, I was looking at queen h3. Queen h3, queen e6. Those are the first two things I look at.
All right, let's see it. Well, white's just winning, so I guess it doesn't work. But we were trying to see if we can get through the back door, but it doesn't work. So he just gets a piece out of that. Okay, so that doesn't work. So rook g5 is on the board. Now we're limited to only really like queen e6 if we want to keep the material. Knight takes e3 is another way. I don't think that really works. Yeah, not any checks in between. He would take and take, and we would take and take, and it's kind of nothing. Queen f4? No, that can't be right. That can't be right. Oh no, that was us. I have lost. I was about to say, man, I've just, like, the stream's over. Like, this, you can't do this. What happened? What did he do?
Rook takes d5. He's giving the exchange back. The exchange back.
That's a very good one to realize too, guys. I mean, anyone watching today, guys, you always want to wonder, like, there's a saying, when you're up material, you can always give it back, and you can give it back when you want to. He was up in exchange, and he gave it up, and now he gave it back. But now Black just is the favorite here. Black's king is much safer than White's king, but it is opposite color bishops, which means an opposite color bishop in games. Actually, Paul, tell the chat. I'm sure you know what's the difference. What's going on in these opposite color bishop in games?
Right. In the end game, once you get all the pieces traded off, it's very, very drawish, because the bishops, they're like ships passing in the night. They can't interact with each other. And so you just put the pawns on the other color. But in the middle game, though, they attack squares that the other bishop can't defend. And so the light squares are going to be firmly in Black's control, and Black might try to attack on those. And the dark squares are going to be firmly in White's control, and White might choose to attack on those. So it's got some sharpness with pieces. And then once the pieces get traded off, it gets very drawish.
That is correct. He is 100% correct, guys. He's 100% correct. That is right. When you have opposite color bishops here, sort of a middle game approaching almost an end game here, these bishops cannot oppose each other. So any squares, any attacks on the light squares, White cannot defend it. And well, not with this bishop at least. And same for Black. You can't defend anything around the dark squares with your light square bishop because of that. And you see he's trying what we call the light square strategy. Maybe something like bishop to g2 or bishop to f3 could be devastating in the next few moves here. Queen to c5. He's desperately trying to trade queens here. Desperately. And I mean, Christopher Yu's playing good, but Greg Shahade right now, like, he's fighting for a draw right now. He's like, you know what? We got to get the queens off. Hopefully I can win this. Now he did get the queens off.
Now it looks very equal.
Got it off. Now it looks very equal.
Very equal.
This pawn's hanging now. Man, look
actually, A2, B3 looks there's still some life in this position yet, because A7 is falling.
Yep, A7's falling. And also,
but with the rook, I would have expected with the bishop.
Actually, I thought rook too as well. But bishop takes, no, you know what? Bishop takes would keep more fights. But even with rook takes, I think he just wanted to bait him into taking due to the two passed pawns connected. That's probably what the idea was. Oh, is his rook trapped? You might have to go bishop b4. Your rook is almost trapped. You also have rook b1 though.
Very close.
B1. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it was very close. King to d2, go around the other way, and white is
That king on.
trying to do his thing here. I mean, from trading into like, hey, I'm up a pawn. Maybe I could win this. I mean, absolutely wild here.
And that king on g8 is just so far away from the action. It's just, you know, if that king were on b6 and somehow those kingside pawns were defended, I'd say black has got some drawing chances here. But with the king being on g8 just so far away from the action, playing such a passive role, it's really hard for me to see black coming out of this surviving.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's it was actually really good for him, but that's how chess is. Of course, you'll be winning and then now you're losing. So usually that's how it happens here. But now his
There
king's
comes the
able to get a
king.
little active. Yeah, but white's completely crushing now. After the check, it says king to d7, probably check him again on c7, b7
b7
instead, and just says,
tactics.
hey, after you take tactics, win games, keep the
Tactics.
king on the back rank. And now Greg Shahadi is going to go down in
20
this 20
seconds.
seconds on the clock for Christopher Yu, but that's more than enough time to finish this one out, unless we see a fatal blunder by one of the parties here. King to f7, king f6, probably walk the king up. h4, I'm not going anywhere. And he moves the rook around. Let's hit him here. Probably hit him with a check. You have to keep the checks up. 14 seconds left on the clock. Here, 12 seconds now. Check, king f7, get out the way.
Whenever I see tournaments
Yeah,
with that increment, I want to see this. I want to see
yeah,
how the players do when they're low
yeah,
on time, because this is
right.
really the deciding factor right here. 9 seconds on one side, 7 on the other.
That's right. Oh my goodness, it's so close. It's so close. Christopher Yu could flag.
So
He
black
got 4
can't win.
seconds.
Black can't win now, even if he runs out of
Well, he
time.
got him. He found it. Look at the monster come around with that little lawnmower mate. Double
Mm.
checkmate because he hit him here. He wanted to be nice and pretty with it here too as well because it's check everywhere, but it's also mate as well. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Christopher, you pulled that one out from a losing start in a way. It wasn't that good of a looking position. Weird here. Now let's look at the standings here on the left. If you see, guys, Christopher Yu is in first place with 2 out of 2. Bean Screen, National Master, we call that a super NM, with 2716 is his rating, 2 out of 2. Malove 212, which is GM, 2 out of 2 as well. So a few players with 2, and the rest have less. Now let's go through it. Let's look at round 3 now. We have Ben Screen versus Christopher Yu. Let's check out the second seat here. Speed of Fight and Malove, or Malev. I'm not sure how we say that. Let's go back. All right, and we have what we all love, what everyone knows, some type of Roy Lopez. What's your experience in the Roy Lopez land,
Oh,
Paul?
I play bishop b5. I don't play bishop c4 at all. So I love these ideas. And what I do is I play d4 instead of castling. So I'm not as familiar with these lines, but obviously like all of these Roy Lopez Spanish lines, they all transpose into each other. They all have similar ideas. I'm looking at c3 d4 for white. That's the main idea.
Yes, C4, C3, D4, and that's
There it
exactly what's
is.
happening here, C3 and D4. I played the Roy Lopez for both sides actually up until I was about 2200, and then I switched over to the Sicilian. But I did, yeah, I played the Roy Lopez for white and black. I used to love it for white and kind of dread it sometimes as black. I used the open Spanish after a while, which was taking on E4 and almost like into Berlin positions and stuff. It was pretty good. Learned, it's a classic opening you have to learn. I think this is Old Steinitz. I haven't. I've got familiar with these G6 lines like
Mhm.
later in life because these weren't played as much when I just learned the Roy Lopez. I didn't know this G6 system, which I've seen, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm a Finchetto fan, so I love Finchetto and Finchetto and my bishop on G7 or any other squares, honestly, but definitely on bishop on G7 or G2.
Now I want to talk about this d5 move, because normally you don't play d5 without there being some more development on the board. But in King's Indian positions, this light squared bishop on d7 is a great attacker on the king, which is what we're transposing to a King's Indian structure. And trading off these light squared bishops means that black is not really going to have as much of a powerful attack if black goes for the f5, f4 stuff that's very typical for this pawn structure. So the d5 move is very smart to trade off those light squared bishops.
Actually, very good strategic point there. I am a King's Indian player, and I hate when I don't have this light square bishop to be able to use and playing f4, just like he talked about. F4, G5, G4, and G3 is usually what we're going for, but we're missing a key piece. Now, on the contrary here, actually, and on the other side is white actually doesn't have the real play that they usually get on the king side, on the queen side right now, which
True.
actually I do like how black's position is unfolding here because we have a clear plan of attack right now. when white doesn't have that clear of an attack, it's usually not there. It's usually faster than this. And there is f4 on the board. Bishop to f2 is the only move, and then g5, and then we're just literally steamrolling the king. Knight f6 is going to be next, followed by g4 and g3, and he's going to be in a lot of trouble if we can't figure this out with the white pieces.
You don't normally consider h3 here for white, but without the light squared bishop, h3 becomes an idea just because there's no ideas of sacrificing with the bishop. It just takes, it's very difficult to bring a knight in to sacrifice on h3. So that's the first thing I'm looking at. Is there a way I could play h3 and just hold on?
Hold on. Very good observation. Absolutely. Knight to g6 is a king's Indian move as well. You literally move every single piece you have to the king side. Look at him, guys. Look at him go. 2 knights here. G4, H4, everything 4, and just try to like push it up there and try to mate him as quickly as humanly possible if you can. That's the goal.
Still love h3.
Still love h3. Actually, honestly, h3 is a tough one. I mean, like, let's actually look at it. What if I play g4 anyway? Takes.
Oh, I was going to take with f and
take with f. Okay.
And then just try to hold this without. Well,
oh man,
is the no, this is harder than it looks. This is harder than it looks.
Now, but like, how do I? Maybe queen d7. No, queen d7. Queen d7 might be c6.
Can you play h3 and then just not take on g4? They play g4 and you just let them take either way.
So, you maybe could. Yeah, that's like holding. So I'm gonna play g3, but then I can't get in. That's interesting. Like not taking.
Yeah, like king h1 to give the bishop a square.
Right, king h1 and g3 looks good, but I mean, now how do we get in?
There's no light square bishop. It's hard to there's still sacrifices on h3. It's just slower.
I would have to go knight h7, knight g5, and then queen d7. But even then, you have queen e2, queen f1 to be able to defend the h3 pawn. This is crazy. And then maybe, oh my goodness, there's so much. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, let's see the live game. So g4 is on the board. He didn't go for h3. He's not taking this. He says, I'm not jumping off the deep end like this. I'm just not about to do this. So, okay, well, all right, let's see what happens. c5, knight c3 is on the board now. Black to move. What do you do? g3? He played bishop e7. Interesting move. I wonder what he's trying to do. Maybe.
So white's putting pressure on d6. So that's what that bishop is doing. It's holding d6.
Oh, yeah, he's just defending. Yeah, he's just defending. Yeah, I see that.
Right, because knight b5 and knight c4 and d6 becomes a bit difficult to hold.
Sometimes I just hate that you have to defend in chess. I think everyone feels that way. You just have to do. I hate defending sometimes, but you have to do it. Like you have to defend, and you're just going to lose. Here, bishop f8's on the board now, and now we just kind of sit and wait here. Let's actually come back to this game and see what happens in the next few moves. Let's check out the top game here. Christopher Yu versus Bean Screen, the super NM right now, who's 2,700 and playing tight, 2-0 here with 7 rounds, guys. This is not 12. What'd you say, Paul?
Oh, I was just going to say the king on f8 looks really weird to me.
Oh, especially after f takes. I mean, that looks like, come on, you can't get away with that. You can't. This looks like this can't be played.
As black, I want to play king e7 here as black.
I want
to play king e7.
King e7 right now?
Well, not right now, but I want to prepare it. I want to get that idea. Maybe actually right now. Why not right now?
Well, king e7, I think takes, and then it says everything's crushing right now.
Oh, because the queen's not stable. It's not holding the knight. Right. Yeah, right.
G4 hitting the knight. Oh, and then it goes all the other way. So that probably wasn't the move. But this wasn't the way to play, obviously. So, but let's see let's actually see what happens after f4.
I want off that f file. All my pieces off that f file.
Exactly right. We have to get everything. Abort mission. Everyone, abort mission. Okay. Pawn takes f4. If rook takes. Rook takes looks cool, but I think knight g4 might be a little better. Reason why rook takes looks cool because he does get 2 rooks for the queen. He does get 2 rooks for the queen, which is something to be aware of, right? I mean, this is not, you don't always go for this, and they actually like black a little bit too. But knight to g4 was the other idea, allowing rook takes and a double as well. Also, the queen is very short on spaces. So if like, I don't know, queen g5, that doesn't work. Where do you actually move the queen? How is it equal here? Like, what is sometimes
you don't need to hold the knight on d4. If the queen takes, there's bishop c5.
Oh, you're right, bishop c5. Okay, that's what we're missing. Why is this not crushing right now? That's exactly why. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so let's go. You play king to g8, snapping on e5 real quick. Queen takes and knight to g4. You got to go for this line. I mean, you might as well maybe king h1, I guess, because you do want to take this knight. You do want to be able to take this knight, but again, pointing out knight to g4 looks good, but looks are very deceiving in chess. I think queen h5 would just hit the g4, then play queen f4. Not hitting mate yet. Close.
And we looked at this with king e7, with king g8. I don't know. Just that rook on h8 is not making a good impression. Like black is trying in some way to hold on to this d4 knight in any way he can, and black's gonna also have to worry about this h8 rook. So black has some problems he has to solve here.
Technically, what we like to say too a lot of times is black's actually down a piece. If you look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This piece is not active and he's out of the game. So this is something to take advantage of if it is possible to do so. Okay. Queen takes e5 though is the move. Now let's actually see what happens next.
Is queen f2 an idea?
Queen f2 is an idea. Hitting f7. Engine doesn't like it, but let's see why. What's our best move? I mean, that looks like an idea to me. Like, what do you do after queen f2? Maybe h6?
I see. h6, king h7, the h8 rook gets out.
h6.
Okay.
Check. Oh, they don't like that at all.
They don't like it.
They don't like that at all. My guy. Oh my goodness. But like this is equal though. So like how is this equal?
I don't see it.
Let me turn on the engine actually. Let me just see.
If you told me this was equal, I would say h6 of course, but it's not.
Only moves are h5. Okay, so what's wrong with h6? Queen f7 and then knight g4. Hit that man with a move. Oh,
that's what the h5 pawn was doing. It's watching the knight.
H5 is doing. Yeah, h5 actually is just better. h5 is better. Okay, so nothing here. So yeah, you said queen f2, h5. So now if check, there is no knight g4 anymore. Wow, wizardry. What is this wizardry? Yeah, knight to g4 is not a move anymore. Okay, cool. So let's go back to the regular game. He still has not found a move yet, and he's approaching the same amount of time. And he goes for it. Queen f2 is on the board, big fella.
h5.
Oh, wow, that was fire. Here it is. Queen f2 is on the board, guys. On the board here. Christopher, you plays queen h5, and that does not feel like a move.
It does stop the knight coming to g4. It does watch f7, so it has some serious logic to it.
Knight d5 immediately. I'm into tactics. You know I love tactics. So knight to d5 looks cool. The idea here is actually taking here, but also knight e7 is mate. And if pawn takes, well, then knight takes. Now I'm hitting the bishop, and I was hitting it in the last move too. And I'm hitting this, and I have mate here as well. It's a nasty move. If knight e2, I just get out the way and have a nice day. Knight takes b4 and hitting here, and this is over. Knight d5 looks like a beautiful move. I love tactics. I eat tactics. There it is. It's on the board. The big fella's playing some chess today. He heard me, the Jedi. He heard him, and I apologize because he's just playing good chess. That's what it is. It happens. Knight e to d5 is on the board. I love when I see my tactics come to fruition here.
That's fire. Just that knight d5 move. It's just you frame that on a wall.
97. Mate is right here playing against Christopher. Yo, hey, I'm gonna say today the people that are playing are not afraid of anybody. They're not afraid of anybody. Greg Shahadi came out here like Penguin. I don't care about a Penguin. Like nothing. Penguin beat Penguin, then almost beat Christopher Yu, playing excellent chess here. I mean, and then it's Super NM here, Bean Screen, whoever this is now playing knight e to d5 in a tactical position where there's mate everywhere. And now he's able to, do exactly what we looked at here. There's mate on e7, the knight's hanging, the bishop's hanging. How can black survive this? The rook is still out of the game, and we are not out of the game by far.
And this is another reason why h5 was better than queen h5. If the queen was still on e5, it would watch e7, and it would hold the knight.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Right. Yeah, the queen has stopped some small threats with knight g4, but it's kind of given up some central squares. And this is really where black is suffering, actually, in the center of the board.
Now look at this, actually. Knight takes b4 is on the board now. This is one of those positions where I almost call them like the grinder positions. Yeah, I'm still winning, but this may not be a checkmate position anymore. As more pieces come off, and me being an attacking player, like, I went to the school of attacking players, right? So we just know that every time you trade a piece, it does limit the amount of, attack that you had before. So the more pieces that come off, it does eliminate our attack a little bit. So if we do have an advantage, then we have to just kind of grind it out. Now, grind this one out and not look for kill shots anymore because there really aren't any. Now the king's on h7 now as rook f8 just can't be a thing. I don't
Is
think
rook
he's going to go
f5
for
any
this.
good? I'm looking at the endgame and I'm trying to determine
If the rook on f5 is any good, so you're
if
thinking,
the pawn takes on f5. If this 3-on-2 majority on the king side is anything for white. Obviously, if white doesn't trade the queens, white takes on a7, or white just tries to press against the king. Those are the two obvious ideas. But when I see a queen exchange, I want to know if that endgame's winning.
that's a very good observation, guys. I hope you're taking notes. That's exactly right. If your queens are coming off, before the queens come off, you have to look at what the end game looks like. And what he briefly said, Paul said, oh, 3 versus 2 with white. What he said here was 3 versus 2 for white. So eventually, yes, objectively speaking, you could create a pass pawn here, but that doesn't mean that the game's going to be over by far just because you can create that pass pawn. It all depends on where the kings are, if there's zugzwang involved, opposition, shouldering, things like that, zigzagging, things that you need to do in your end game here, if that will be a portion of it. But so you have to think about that before you trade. And also, me being with the white pieces here, I feel like I have more of an advantage with the king kind of misleading here. Doesn't look that good. Rook e1 I like, and then he plays rook c4. Just because I'm threatened doesn't mean I have to move it. I teach this to my students all the time. This is an equal or stronger threat. My knight is hanging, but also your knight is hanging. And if I move my knight, well, then I can probably take on e4 and defending and doubling all at the same time. So you may actually be forced to take this, which makes another piece come off the board. That definitely helps Christopher Yu in some type of in-game position as pieces come off with a weak isolated pawn, black having one too as well, but this king is
Rook takes
actually
c2,
closer
defends
in
the
this
knight.
one. Which one?
Rook takes c2, defends the knight on e2
yes. Oh, right now, actually. Rook
right
takes
now,
c2.
or e4. They
Or
both work.
yeah, or e4. So what's a good move, guys? This got to be right. I mean, man, it feels like white's just crushing, but he is not. Even the engine's like, nope, it's equal. Try again. Nope, it's equal. Try again. But it feels like he's crushing, but he's not. And if you do anything besides defending the knight, first off, it's hanging. Secondly, doubling is a hair away. I think Christopher Yu is going to win this game. I'm calling it now.
Calling it now.
I think Christopher Yu is going to win.
I'm looking at rook d1 just to hold the knight, and then I'm trying to say, do I have any plans after that? It looks bleak for white. I mean,
You also have to be careful. What's this mate called? Corridor mate or something?
oh yeah.
I think it's some type of mate that
Knight f4,
happens.
more
Queen takes
tactics.
and then rook h4 for mate. So you have to be careful with the queen's defending h4. Knight f4, he did go for it here, but I mean, now this is like who came here to see this kind of chess? Like knight f4, trade down to a draw, guys. Sorry, trade down to a draw. But of course, these guys have to play the best chess, so we don't want them to all be losing every game. But we do want to see some decisiveness. Rook takes, rook takes. Now, of course, there is rook f1 check. If you try to get crazy and just jump off the deep end, don't do it. So he plays queen to g1 instead. With now rook f1 still being a threat. Now look at how he just overpowered this game. Now did he just lose? No, he didn't. The queen is behind, is in front of this rook, so it wouldn't work.
This is the kind of chess I'm looking for from Christopher Yu. Again, he was, before Penguin joined, he was the highest rated member of the event, and I'm looking for him even in losing positions to find defensive ideas and turn the tables. And this is the beginning of that for me. I want to see more of this for the rest of the game.
Yep. I definitely believe so as well. I think he should play, exactly how he's playing now, strong and just bouncing back, not allowing my opponent to get so much here. He's showing a very great ideal of strength here, as he is strong, 28-19. I mean, you just can't, like, numbers don't lie. But at the same time here, he is having a problem with some of the lower rated players, as in like he had a problem with Greg Shahadi. So hopefully he could just like break out of like a little bit shaky. Sometimes you need to warm up a little bit, just like any sport. Maybe he's not warmed up, because he's just not crushing anything. He's getting very close, but now he's like, in gaming people and playing and outplaying with technique.
This
His
is the queen
positions
trade
now.
again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the queen trade, and now we have 5 versus 5. I mean, yeah, like, who do you favor here, right? Whoever has the activity. This is who you favor in these kind of positions. Who has the better activity and less weaknesses? If I have better activity of my pieces, which looks like it is black to move now, of course. So he had this active pieces and less weaknesses. Now I think white has the less weaknesses part, because these are both weak. It can be defended, but right now it's definitely weak. So we'll see what happens here. Rook f4, nice, saying that, hey, you take, I take. So let's see what happens here. Rook takes f4, takes. Now what are we going to do? Rook e7. He does go for it, keeping a rook on the 7th rank. Very nice here. But Christopher Yu is now down a minute on time. Not a minute. He's under a minute on time.
You know, if both players had 20 minutes here, I'd say draw.
Yeah,
Let's go home,
absolutely.
draw. But
Right.
both of them are about down to a minute. So we've seen in some of in both of the other games actually these time scrambles, massive blunders, and so I'm not expecting this game to be a draw. It could be a draw, but I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting somebody to drop something in time pressure.
Oh, absolutely. Those are my kind of games. I love seeing it. Of course, I don't want to be the person doing it, but I do love watching it because I know the feeling. I know the feeling of that happening before. So King to G7's on the board here. Honestly, yeah, it's just drawn, bro. There's like, you know how many times I've been in these kind of positions trying to fight, like, no, I'm gonna win this one. Nope, I'm gonna probably try this plan, and it just never works. This is a draw with all best play, guys. This
Well,
is always going to be a draw.
as you and I are both saying that, I'm looking at the eval bar.
Oh my goodness, Black's winning. This is gross.
Like I'm like
What
you and I.
happened?
Okay, now it's now
What
now the eval
happened?
bar, right? But
How is
the
he?
king
What?
king e7. I was king e7. And the problem here, I think, is just rook b1, pawn to b2, and then this king doesn't have the typical g2 h2 idea that it should have.
Oh snap! I can't move.
The king can't
I
move.
can't move.
If white did not have a pawn on g2, this would be drawn. But with the pawn on
Right.
g2, the king can't move back and forth from h2 to
I
g2.
can't move. Man, that still seems like
Yep,
that would be a draw too. That's
yep.
crazy.
It's
What's
so
up, Greg?
close.
Greg Shahadi in the chat, the man, the myth, the legend. Let's go, Greg. Shout out to you, bro. Welcome to the stream, bro. All right. Welcome to everyone too as well. If you're here watching a U.S. online qualifier, the final Swiss, guys, the big boys playing today. We are in round 3 and one more game in round 3, and then we're going to round 4, and then we're going to take a short break and come right back for the final rounds right after round 4. All right, here we go, guys. Round 4 is here. Let's actually take a quick look at who has what. Speed of Light came out of nowhere. Sometimes you'll see that just underdogs just come out of nowhere and they're just crushing everything. And that's what it looks like right now for Speed of Light. Not sure who this international master is, but he's 3 out of 3 right now. 3 out of 3. I remember actually Karyakin was kind of that guy for me for a while. Karyakin, I remember just like not hearing a lot about Karyakin, even though he's just an absolute beast. And then he just came through and started crushing everybody and challenged Magnus. For the championship. So we could see something like that. Some of the names that you see or that you may be, leaning towards, like Christopher Yu, Greg Shahadi, some other GMs you may see in here, and Penguin, Andrew Tang, right, may not even win it. It could be someone else. You have some of the best here playing today for this this final bracket spot, which the top 8 advance to. Top 8 advance to. All right, so what's going on here, Paul? What kind of game do we have here?
Yeah, as black, I'm looking to get e5 and try to get a Maroczy bind on the position. This is like a reversed accelerated dragon type structure. And if I can just get e5 as black and I get my typical, f6, b6, I get my 2 pawn chains towards the center. I feel like as black, I've got a comfortable game. I'm not winning by any means, but I'm at least playing for I'm playing for an advantage, right? I'm not necessarily there yet, but it's hard for white to play if I get this e5 move in successfully without any problems.
Absolutely. 100%. I've actually been there before many times on the black side of this, actually playing the Maroczy bind, not Maroczy bind. I was actually playing the accelerated dragon against the Maroczy bind, which did have some problems, and I had some good games, and you have to learn what you're doing there. Of course, I switched my Sicilian now, but I do have some very, very good memories from having Maroczy bind, sometimes even with the black pieces of, like you said, putting a pawn on e5 and playing c5 as well, and having just that bind on the center of d4. Bishop to e3. He's actually playing this very correctly, though. Bishop e3, of course, he's Christopher Yu. He's going to play mostly correctly here, right? Bishop to e3, rook to c1, and kind of bully this pawn with ideas of playing a3 and b4 later. It's actually just
C5 is actually
Sicilian.
a bit of a problem. C5 is actually a bit of a problem. You can't really play b6, and you don't really want your dark squared bishop defending c5 because your dark squared bishop wants to go to g7. So the c5 pawn is actually a bit of a problem here.
Yeah, that is correct, actually. That is correct. You also have this here, loose pieces, lose games. So this is a loose piece. This is undefended. So at any given moment, even something like knight h2, which doesn't work, he just goes back to d7. But it's the fact that now I'm looking for things makes it a very, very scary situation for the black pieces here. Bishop to e3, trying to figure out how do I defend this? What's the best way? And I think a problem would be if e6 or e5. The issue is that now you can't think out of the bishop like you wanted to because the bishop's falling. I mean, the pawn's falling. And why would you, give this up here? And why would you play g6 without putting a bishop on g7? So it looks kind of weird. It's very, very weird. It is a problem for the international master here. But nevertheless, he does have 3-0. He is the top dog right now with 3 out of 3. So let's see what happens in the next one. Great commentary, guys. Thank you, Speedy Indian. Thank you so much. Welcome. Glad to have you here today. So bishop e3 is on the board.
Yeah.
And let's
So
go to the next one. What'd you have?
when you're playing these kinds of structures against when you're playing these accelerated dragon structures, you really need to pounce on your opportunity when you see it. So seeing that he played this bishop e3 move just right when it showed up, and he's got a slight advantage here. This is the kind of sharp eye you're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. As black here, honestly, man, I got to figure out what I would do because, like, I don't know. Like, what do you do, Paul? What are you doing here?
Knight a6, right? Like
That's what I thought too. But I was like, man, if I got to play knight a6, like, this not a. I wasn't trying. This is not the position I was looking for when I said, let's play against Christopher Yu or like my next opponent. I wasn't going for this. Knight e6 looks weird too. Like, these might be one of the only moves. Sometimes I always say, like, have the anyway mindset. The anyway mindset is like, do it anyway. Play b6 and see what happens. But at the same time, that could be good and bad many times. Oh, just do it anyway and you get destroyed, or just do it anyway and it actually works for you. B6. Actually, right now, we just white
is
has
there like knight
moves,
d4? I look at knight
but
d4
even
and knight
here,
e5.
we
I
just
don't
take
know
it.
if they're working,
Right.
but
And
this is what I look at first.
And I think even d4 doesn't work either for some reason. I just think it feels like it's wrong. But I think this might be what he would go for, because if pawn takes, you do have knight takes, and now we're just crushing.
Right.
But I mean, is there an in-between move? But I think there's an in-between for the in-between. So if takes, if bishop takes, you still have to worry about this whole diagonal. So, there's an in-between for the in-between. But here, that's just tough, man. I think this is a tough position for black. He played e5, and now he's just a concession is what I'll call this here, because now you have to say, I'm not putting my bishop on g7 at all. I'm actually going to sit here all day and defend this pawn because I went wrong somewhere in this position. And it might have been this bishop g4 move. That might be the move that gave him the most trouble here, because, this bishop looks misplaced in a way. So now what does he do?
Yeah, I'm looking to get h5, not immediately, but is there, because the bishop can take, right? But is there a way I can prepare h5 now that I know that this dark squared bishop is not really going to g7? Is there a way that I can maybe get that bishop out of g4? Maybe I can go like knight e. Knight e4 is another idea. Put more pressure on c5, right? c5 is the problem.
C5 is a problem. Yes, it is a problem here. And actually, knight e4 looks really good. I actually like knight e4. Knight e4 could follow with bishop to g5. Knight takes c5 and rook to c1 being a thing as well. This is all annoying. I mean, I'm not liking black's position here. I really think bishop g4, he kind of caught him off guard, though, I think, with this h4 move, because it does catch people off guard. If you are a player that puts a bishop on g7, and this is just for both parties. If you're a party that likes to, a player that plays bishop g7, this will throw you off, the h4 move. So you have to either play h5 yourself, or like in this game, bishop to g4 to stop the h5 push. Or if you're playing white and you're playing against this bishop g7, there's been many times where I've won countless games playing with the h4 pawn, or like Simon Williams says it, Harry the h pawn. We use this all the time to be able to push Dirty Harry down here and go to town. So let's actually see, is there any moves, any live moves? Queen to b3 happened and bishop to e7. Just saying, hey, you know what, forget it. We're going to have to play the castle queen side, get out of the way here. h5 is going to be a thing. And I think I can sack my rook. I am a fan of sacking in these kind of lines. So something like castles, or it's white to move now, but h5, let's say he did do this, something like this. Castles, sacking and all this stuff. I'm a fan of this kind of play.
Oh yeah, it's very exciting, especially because the king's open, the g6 pawn is taken on h5. But what about? I mean, there's some other simple ideas here. There's still knight e4 on the cards. There's also queen takes b7 on the cards. Like there's just so many ideas for white that I feel like white is just queen takes b7. That was played.
Went for it, yeah.
And there's still knight e4, even after this. Knight e4 hasn't gone away as an idea.
He actually did. He actually did exactly that. Now he moved the queen back. What'd you say?
Oh, the bishop is no longer on g4. Your idea with h5 is much stronger now.
Oh, okay. Knight b4 and knight d4 is actually, and that's exactly what he went for. Knight to d4. Now what do we do? You have to get rid of this. Oh, you play queen d2. Probably would have maybe snapped that, but I guess not. Yeah, to take is a mistake, is what they'll say. Pawn takes, moving the knight. Bishop b4 looks kind of crazy. So he moves out of the way, and we are up a pawn now, and this one's hanging too. I like white's position now. I mean, we were already liking white anyway, but definitely after this, kind of like just, go off the wall chess here, do what I can. Give up a pawn and still not castle. I mean, like, you have to, when you're comparing a position, I always like to say, comparing a position, what all the bad things and the good things in the position. This rook's good, but at the fact that he lost a pawn, His king's still in the center. His bishop was supposed to be on g7, and he still hasn't castled, and this pawn was hanging. There's too much. Now, white side, honestly, we just gave up the file. Is that it? I mean, that's it. The king's in the center, really, but that's not for long. So white's doing excellent here in this position. That's why we always have 2 evaluations. The engine says it's like +1. It's like fairly equal. But as a human here, white's crushing. White's absolutely crushing in this position kind of thing. There's a lot to do. Castles. Now maybe removing this bishop with bishop h6 as a tempo. And maybe playing e3. Knight f5 would be a thing. But something's going to happen. So let's see. Castles and castles from both parties here.
I'm still looking at knight e4. It's not easy to kick the knight off of e4 because if you play f5, you give me the g5 square.
Right.
And again, there's always tactics on g5 in these kinds of positions. And as well, the f6 pawn is holding e5. So if you play f5, I'm worried for my e5 pawn is black.
You know, I actually like the fact too that this is a Moroxy bind type position. When in these Moroxy binds, if I'm playing white or black, if you have any kind of bind position, it's good to know. And Magnus says you should play different openings because it expands your repertoire and it also helps in your pet lines. So whatever you actually love to play, it's going to help you work even better because you remember stuff from other openings that you studied a lot on. And here in the Moroxy bind, you do fairly much so see moves like b3. And what I would have played is probably b3, moving my queen to e1 and rerouting my knight to the better square, which is c4. So actually it would look like b3. Let's just make a move here for white. Queen e1, maybe rook e8. And then we move the knight to d2, following up with c4, keeping our line of the bishop open, and actually having a good way to position here. Eventually kicking this knight off with e3, maybe playing f3 or f4. But this is the way that you maneuver in these type of closed type center closed lockdown bind positions. It's a lot about maneuvering. You know, so we have to be careful and actually understand what's really going on here. But bishop to g4 is the move. This is, again, very annoying. You can't really move anything. And I think we are up a pawn, right? 3-6, 3-6-7. Yeah, white's up a pawn. So we should just like consolidate. b3, knight a4, hitting the c5 pawn here. White has so much play. And even like you said, knight e4 is great too. b3 and knight e4, or even knight e4 now hitting the c5 pawn. It is about timing. You have to be very, very careful of timing, though. Time is very important.
Of course, yeah. And 94 played.
Bro.
There's that c5 pawn under pressure. Yeah. F5 is very hard to play. It's just the knight e4 is just exerting so much pressure on the position. Plus the queen's open. I'm looking at queen a5 as well. Queen a5 just to put more pressure on that c5 pawn.
Well, we would love to play queen a5.
with the knight on c7, of course.
Right.
Before
correct.
The knight moved off of c7.
Correct. Absolutely. Now queen a5. Yes, rook to e1, and just a tight position here. This is one of those grinding type positions, as you see, especially as you get stronger, you're going to have many more of the grind-like positions where it takes more time. You're more strategic. You have a lot of things that you need to be doing and paying attention to because this is not a kill shot win. There's nothing to even attack right now, but white is up a pawn, and a lot of times all it takes is a pawn to win the game, but you'd have to have the technique involved as well. It's not just over because you got that pawn here. So white is up a pawn, but now we have to figure out how to maneuver the rest of the pieces. Knight h2, I like it a lot. Just maneuvering some pieces around. We need some squares. Your pieces need squares. You don't have squares, you don't have anything. Dr. Chess, hi James. Hello, Dr. Chess. Welcome to the stream. Hello, everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I'm National Master James Canty III, and we have Paul Terwilliger.
Yeah, I see that knight coming back to c3. I'm trying to find ways to reroute for white. I mean, white throughout just seems to have pressure. It's a tight game for him. He's got to play accurately, but he's also got to keep up the pressure.
That's right. That's right. And with this bishop here, actually, this is cramped. Like you can't move anything right now. You can't move anything right now. And because you have everything like consolidated like this, like you have to find ways to move it. I definitely see bishop h6 coming.
Bishop h6, e3.
And e3. And breaking this up. Because if you don't break this up, we're just going to chill around. There's nothing else to do. Okay, there's literally nothing. And there it is, guys. Bishop h6 is on the board. After the rook moves, you should go to d8 to put pressure on d3 or the d4 square. A rook to d8 is best because if you know e3 is coming, d3, there it is, rook to d8. And we know that d3 is going to fall, and you want to play d4. So logically, it would make the most sense to do that. And now he goes back to e4, hitting the c5 pawn. This bishop is doing a great job of keeping everything out. And e3 is going to be played, followed by maybe rook to d1 or something. Of that nature. Definitely cramped position. Absolutely, Mark Savelli.
Honestly, when you're in these kinds of cramped positions, You can go for moves like e3 right away. They're a bit more committal because the bishop can't really retreat. But if you go for this cat and mouse game of going to e4, striking at c5, coming back to c3 and looking at the d5 square and going back and forth in this cat and mouse game, you could also find that your opponent will make mistakes there because black is the one under pressure here. Black has to keep finding exact moves. White could repeat a couple times and really test black. Do you know how to respond to this?
Right. You know how to respond. And G4 was a very nice response here with bishop F5 now. Now after bishop takes, now we have our bishops swiping the board a little bit. This one is kind of out of the game. But the question is, guys, how do you get to this bishop effectively without getting a knight on F7, which I don't know how long that's going to take, getting a knight to F7. So we don't want to actually do that at all. This bishop's doing a great job of doing his job here. Knight to B4, you have to keep the threats up and maybe bring the knight to D5 as well. So at this point, white is just trying to grind and open things up. There are 2 pawns hanging actually. And he says, go ahead, take it. I dare you. Take the pawn. And you always have to know that your opponent will test you in your theory. If you think that they won't take it, sometimes they may take it. And they may be absolutely wrong and 100% going to lose the game. Or they could be fine. And look at that. Knight takes D3. He says, show me. Okay.
Rook ED1.
Show me, Christopher. You. Rook to D1, big fella. Rook to D1. There it is. And now the knight is hanging. So I think he has to play C4 or rook to B3. One of these moves are probably going to be played.
Rook B3, rook C3, right? And then C4 takes on C4. Both of those are ideas.
Yes, and after C4, I think rook takes C4, right? And then maybe knight to C5 was the idea.
Knight C5.
I think that was the idea for this one. And also you have rook to B3, which I'm not sure. Oops, rook to B2 is not a move. But rook to B3, I don't know if you got rook to C3. I think that was my plan, but right. I don't really know. I don't really they actually don't like that. So I don't know. What do you actually do? Queen C2? Ooh, that's a nice move. Ouch, shoot. Queen C2 was strong. That actually might work.
Rook takes B2?
See. Oh, wait, what happened?
A lot of pieces came off. Wow.
Right, everything came off the board. Rook D1, and he said, I get one, you get one. I get one, you get one. And now we're in this position, which now he got his pawn back, but his pieces are kind of cramped here. Black has some issues with these pieces, so he takes another pawn. But you take one, I take one. Very simple. Very simple. Now we might put this bishop, there it is, into the center of the board, threatening moves like F4 and F5, and we live. Very, very simple here. Knight E2 check, got to step out of the way. Maybe, I don't know. King F1 does run into knight to C3, but you got to move your king anyway. So probably king F1, so you can be able to still move this F4 pawn. Knight to C3, after king F1, knight C3, bishop C4, maybe trying F4, F5.
Now I'm looking at that bishop on H6. I feel like if white successfully gets an E4 and the bishop can retreat, then white's better. But that bishop on H6 is actually having some trouble getting to the C5 pawn, which is fast, and just having trouble getting in the game. And so I'm looking here, can I play E4 as white? Can I give up my bishop to give my H6 bishop some life and get back into the game? Or do I have to save my light squared bishop and just hope that my H6 bishop gets back into the game elsewhere?
A very great observation, because this bishop is out of the game right now. Now, of course, there is a lot of game left, but as of right now, this bishop is out of the game. And if he doesn't find a way to do anything with the bishop, he's in a lot of trouble. Now, check this out, Paul.
I'm looking at E4 from black.
Check this out, Paul. I think he's trying rook A8 and bishop here. Rook A8 and bishop check. That's a gross maneuver. But rook A8 and bishop to E8 check will be decisive. So he plays knight to D8 and says, not today. You're not going to get me that easy. So now he has to find out where to move his bishop. Bishop A8 is a weird looking move. And he actually chose it. That's exactly what we chose.
Can I play E4 as black? And just keep that H6 bishop, E4, and keep that bishop out of the game.
Interesting. Maybe knight F1. Oh, but then G5. I might be locked in for real. So I might have to play bishop F4 immediately after E4. Because my idea.
Right.
Idea, but you have G5, I think. I think you're just kind of locking me out for a while. I just don't like that. So I might have to go bishop F4. My idea was just move the knight around and try to snag this pawn. But it's interesting. Bishop A8. Let's actually see what the move was. Rook to D8 was played. And he plays knight F3. Engine's jumping around a little bit. Rook to D6. G5. That does help a little bit.
G5, F5. That bishop is having trouble getting out.
G5, F5 takes.
Takes. Yeah.
E6, and then
of course
Or maybe. Let's get back. He plays E5 and knight G1, knight H3, knight F4. Wow, bro, you see the engine going up and down like this?
It's crazy.
It's up and down. Like we're just painting the evaluation bar on.
And this is White's worst nightmare, basically. Can that bishop get out? And white says,
Oh,
Actually,
that
there's a
was
tactic here.
nice.
Yeah, there's a
Oh
tactic
my
here.
goodness, that was sweet. Oh, Rook A5 though, he's hitting the knight. Yeah, he found Bishop G7 was nice, guys. I mean, let's just go
Right.
back if you guys are wondering what happened. Why did he play Knight B5? Why didn't he just take the free bishop? Because it's not free. It's not free at all. So he actually went Knight to B5 here, and then now we have this section here. Where now, honestly, man, Black came back here. I mean, Black played an awesome game. I mean, you're seeing some of the best defense that we've seen in a while. I mean, but of course you should expect that from today's match. This is the final Swiss. This is the big fellas of the big, okay? The strongest of the strong that made it through every matchup, or at least 24-01, 24-01 and up section, which is very, very strong here. Very, very strong. Now we have this kind of game. Well, what do you think about this, Paul? Who do you have winning this?
Yeah, well, first I want to say all 3 games, Black was behind and Black found counterplay. And that's, when you say there's a lot of defense going on in these games, this is really a masterclass for Black of showing how to defend and be active at the same time. At the same time, here for Black, the activity is mostly the C5 pawn. Can I find ways to push it? Can I find ways to get my D8 knight to start to control some of these light squares? Because my dark square bishop can only watch, C3, C5, and I need to get this knight active in order to start moving this pawn. So the D8 knight is the big question for me. Can you get that active? Can you push the C pawn?
That's a great question. I think after he found it immediately, knight to C6, but he lost. Oh my goodness, tactics win games. Did you do your puzzle rush today? Looks like he didn't do puzzle rush today. Hopefully you did, to catch up for what he just got hit with right there, big fella. Oh my goodness, that's a wrap. And it always happens when you get in time trouble. When you get in time trouble, it just happens like that, guys. You make mistakes and it happens to the best of the best. The guy is the #1 guy right now in today's tournament with 3 out of 3, and he's fighting for his absolute life here, fighting for everything that he knows and trusts right now.
He wants to promote
He
that
is
pawn.
fighting.
It's
And
his
now
last
he's
chance.
not, it's over. This should be over here, guys. He can't do anything. It doesn't matter. We just queen. And there's 6 seconds left on the clock for Christopher Yu. Let's see if he's able to find the mate. There it is. Oh, actually, no, I thought he had a queen check for some reason. I thought he had a queen mate. 2 seconds on the clock. Oh my goodness, Christopher Yu might flag. He might
or
flag.
stalemate, right?
Okay, he took the pawn. So now it's a draw, at least. Oh, he
0
didn't
seconds.
flag. He
There we go.
won the game. Whoa, Christopher Yu came back and hit that man very hard. Look at that. Excellent game. That was crazy, guys. That was awesome. Awesome 4 rounds of chess right there. Wow. And that's round 4, guys. So we're going to take a quick break. Stick around. Don't go anywhere, guys. Enjoy the commercials here. You are here with the U.S. Championship Online Qualifier. I'm National Master James Canty III here with Paul Terwilliger, and we will be right back, guys. And we're back, everyone. U.S. Championship Online Qualifier, guys. I'm National Master James Canty III, and today we have Paul Willinger with us. Let's look at the format again before we get right back to the games. Here we go. Today we're in the final Swiss, December 5th, 7 rounds, guys. The rest were 12, 10-0, and the top 8 are going to advance using the Sonnenborn-Berger bracket system, the tiebreak system. So, okay, let's get back to the games, guys. Here we go. All right, Paul. So let's actually take a look at the standings real quick. Let's see who's up there. Christopher Yu coming back with a vengeance here. He actually wasn't in the first place. Now he's 3.5 out of 4, guys. Out of 4 rounds, he's 3.5. And now we're into the game. Who's he playing now? He's playing Elshan, which is a very strong grandmaster. And let's see what he does, man. What do you think about this game, Paul?
Yeah, I like the e4 pawn for white just because he has this dark squared bishop. So they make a really good impression on the board. These dark squares on d4 and e5 very strong. The g7 pawn a little bit weak, and the e4 pawn giving white space. So I prefer to play white here. It doesn't look like there's too much of an advantage for white, but I still prefer to play white here for those reasons.
Absolutely. I'm an attacking player for life. It will never change for me. So absolutely, I do love how white looks here with this very strong bishop. On g7, I'm already seeing ideas, attacking class 101. I do them every single day. f4, rook f3, rook to g3 looks good. Hitting the g7 pawn, and even maybe somehow getting my knight to d5 via the c4 square.
Sorry.
e5? You said is e5 a move?
Oh, D5 for black. I didn't mean to
Oh,
interrupt you, but it's
d5.
D5.
No, man, it's fine. Absolutely. So d5, knight to c4. And actually, yeah, I like knight c4 for some reason. I really want to get this knight around. This was my idea, but maybe rook to d8
D4.
might just stop me. d4 actually shutting me down. Shutting me down. That's a strong move, actually. So we might have to take on d5 because that's annoying. That's extremely annoying here, guys. We cannot use this bishop anymore. And bishop f6 is coming. So you have to be scared. You have to be like scared of that, actually. So I might have to just take that pawn. I really don't want to, but I kind of have to, actually. Let's actually see what happened. Nothing yet, but d5 actually does stand out. d5 does stand out here, guys.
And what attracted me to d5 is the knight went to d2 instead of c3. c3, it would have been watching the d5 square, but where it's on d2, it's blocking the queen.
Right, blocking the queen here. And d5 does make it. I have to kind of take this. And it may be what, queen g4? But then you might have queen g5. I'm not trying to trade. And this would be like, I'm not trying to trade because it's just super equal. Queen g5 takes. And now we're super equal. And if I move my queen, I'm just kind of moving my queen. I might have to. As long as there's no way he can hit me with something crazy. Now I have 94. Rook e8, maybe 94. Still trying to keep the attack alive because he's definitely closing it down. There it is. Look at Paul with the d5, d5 and live. Okay, Paul was ready. Paul came ready today, guys. d5 is actually a big boy move. Got to be very careful of this. Now we have to figure out what to do as white. Elshan pushing tight here, of course, as you should. d5 is nice.
Right, and my idea for black is to get d4 and bishop f6. Make sure that this d4 pawn is very, very strong. It's not yet creating any big threats, but it's just preventing white from creating big threats too.
Yes, that is correct. And then after we looked at it, guys, again, he plays knight f3. I understand. I mean, he's just trying to move the knight. But now what? Are you going to take it or play e5? And e5 is just kind of a weak pawn out here. Doing what? I don't understand what that would be about. This is not how we want it to go here. Engine agrees as well, even favoring white by 0.4. That's something you don't even count. But at the same time here, it says something. They're favoring black, as you should. Black's pieces, this is how you understand engine evaluations in a way. Why is black slightly better? Why is black slightly better? Because everything's developed. Literally every piece he has is developed. So black is just slightly better. Not that he's winning by far, but he has a better and more comfortable position to play, as our rook is still over here, and he has one on the file. He's taking care and over the file right now. It's just a better piece, a better position, and this piece is bad. This is probably white's best piece. It is. Well, we need something else kind of to do. Let's actually see this. The live position.
I'm looking for c4 for white, queen c2, or queen e2, right?
Yeah, queen e2.
If you want to keep the queens on the board, queen e2, queen c1, those were the two ideas. And so White's showing his hand. He wants to attack, and that's why he's kept the queens on the board instead of playing something like queen c, or just the c4 pawn, which maybe would have traded everything off.
That's my style of play too. Queen e2, just getting out the way. Probably play rook d1, maybe queen h5, and then maybe queen c4. So
and both players with bishops pointing at the king. Both players trying to attack. Both players looking for the e5 and d4 squares.
The engine said this is not a move. Where is it made or something? What did we miss? You see the evaluation here. What's the move?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the live position, but
Hmm.
I mean, that was like, how was that losing? I don't know. He was missing something there. Rook to F to E1. Rook to D1 is coming. So at least he's
Yeah.
stopping rook to E8, though. He is stopping rook E8. Then he says H6 for some loot for the king.
Now I don't like h6 this early because
Yeah.
if black ever wants a rook lift, the rook belongs on h6 to attack h2 because that's the dark square pawn. That's where the bishop is looking. And so, I know you want lift at some point, but I don't know if now is the right time for it.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, I don't like H6 either. It leaves weaknesses around the king. And someone in chat, Advaith, actually, you are correct. I do remember. Yeah, with that line, we looked with the rook to D1. It was like, why is it losing? Because bishop takes H2 actually was hitting the D1 rook as well. So
Mm,
thank you for that, Advaith, in the chat. I was like, yeah, I knew something was wrong. There it is. So H6 now opening up king to H7. But honestly, we just don't like this. But how do we exploit it is the question, actually. Rook D1. So that same line is still here. Rook D1. Queen h5, and if you go queen c4, it actually fails to bishop h2 with tactics,
right,
guys.
right.
Tactics win games. And if you go king h1, I mean, honestly, you just lost this pawn. So, like, this is not a fun position anymore. King h1, bishop e5 check, I think, right? Bishop e5. It's just very bad everywhere, everywhere. So here's what he chose. He chose c4, actually, Paul.
Yep.
Yes, he chose a c4 move. Just doing it with a pawn. So now we have at least, if we reach an endgame, we at least have a pawn advanced a little bit. That's kind of something long term, but I mean, black has no issues really. Maybe rook d1 and rook d5.
Right. Yeah. If the black bishop wants to stay on d6, which it kind of does, then black is not fighting for the d5 square. So white gets this very simple idea. Black says I have to move the d6 bishop in order to fight for the d5 square, and black's pipe dream of attacking is not materializing. So it just looks very equal, very drawish, and honestly, like there's not going to be a whole lot of action as soon as this bishop moves off of the d6 square.
That's correct. And it just looks starting to look very drawish, especially like you said, after it moves off the d6 square, something like rook d1. He plays a3, but if rook to d1, oh, maybe he had bishop b4 or something. He's probably just stopping anything swinging into b4 before playing rook to d1. Bishop c5, though, as soon as the bishop moves, we trade those rooks, and this could be a quick draw. Quick draw. Black's doing fine though. Rook to
I,
d6.
I I wonder if knight a5 is ever an idea. Just abandoning the idea of attacking and saying, "Hey, you moved your a pawn. Can I attack b3 and c4 and try to get some ideas there?"
What do you think about Well, actually, it doesn't work. So he's trying rook e7. Never mind. I thought he was trying something else here.
Rook e7 is cute.
Yeah, I think he's trying rook e7. Maybe trying to double this way. b4 for
Yeah,
c5.
I actually like this a3 b4 idea because
Yeah.
again, it's
Mhm.
it's this it's the bishop on d6. It's running out of squares. Black is going to have to decide. Does my bishop really belong on f8? Does it belong on
Right.
e7? Does it belong on f4? Like none of these are very very stable at all, actually.
The problem for both sides is like, how do you proceed? And I think white has the better chances for doing that with accuracy. With accuracy, but black is solid. Black is very solid. These are like the Carol Khan positions because I don't play. I hate playing Carol Khan. I hate playing against it
Hmm.
sometimes. But the Carol Khan is very solid, and that's why Karpov was a big fan of it too as well. But like, this is a solid position for black. Like solid. So it's kind of hard to break through something. I mean, there's no weaknesses. When you can't attack something, like it's very hard to do something. As an attacking player myself, I understand it. It's just hard to do that. It's very hard. You have to try to create stuff. Yep. And rook to d1, I understand. And now it's just straight zeros here. Straight zeros.
Right. Yeah. And if black had any claim in the center, it was that black was trying to hold the e5 square, and going bishop f8 is kind of resigning the e5 square and saying, I'm not really going to fight for the center. We're just going to trade things off. And it's white that has a slight bit of pressure here. I'm looking at some entry squares for the queen. I'm looking at the long diagonal on the bishop, but honestly, there's not enough weaknesses here. If I were white, I'm really looking at just trying to enter. There's not very many entry squares.
Yep, and then without being entry squares, there is problems. And actually, I prefer black right here now because of honestly a psychological part as well. When playing with the white pieces, you do want to actually have some type of advantage in every opening you go through. When with having the white pieces, having the first move, you look for advantages here. And when you reach an end game where you don't even have a slight advantage, it actually becomes sometimes a turning point in both sides. Sometimes black recognizes it, especially at the higher levels, and starts to play better, stronger, better moves, especially when you have access. Like this queen is very annoying. And if you ever move your queen from the back rank, there is issues with this. So I can actually see black coming up with some very strong counterplay due to the placement of the queens. Placement of the queens here. Human evaluation, I give black a slight edge. Of course, the engine eval here is just says it's equal. But I think black has a slight edge due to the queen being on f5. And white, look at white, even the clock. Use the clock as a piece, okay? Right, Christopher Yu is down 3 minutes here trying to figure this position out after bishop to c3. Now black has to do some things. You may even see something as critical or crazy as g6 and bishop g7 and trading white's last great piece. Just like how they do in the Caro-Kann. G6, they trade all the pieces, go to an endgame, and we're pretty good. That's kind of how it works.
I'm trying to see if b5 is a move here now. B5 not played, right? But if kicking the knight away off of those dark squares was ever an idea to enter onto the d4 square or something, didn't seem like it quite gave white enough. But actually, the eval bar is staying at straight zeros. So not only is it staying at straight zeros, but just with not much going on the board, it's really actually hard to find a plan for both sides.
That is correct. That is
Maybe
correct.
maybe some knight c4, knight a5 idea if the knight on c6 leaves. Maybe some, like if the knight on c6 leaves, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's so hard. I would have
I'm
maybe
also
tried
looking at 94 too, just because maybe
94,
bishop
yeah.
f6 is coming. But
Yeah.
yeah, and now it's there. So that's what he was trying for. But bishop's on f6 now. And yeah, he's advancing these, but these can become targets if you trade too much. And just playing so many end games and knowing like if you trade too much and you're not quick enough, these become targets because they're too far out right now. And the king's not placed well yet. It's getting closer to an end game. And again, time is not on Christopher Yu's side. He's down 3 minutes here on time. So he needs to move, or almost 3 minutes, but he needs to move a little bit faster here and catch up on time so that it doesn't become a time scramble and I blunder in time trouble and lose, right?
Yeah, an idea like queen d7 is very attractive until you realize how weak the a3 pawn is, right? I want to go queen d7. If I had my way as white, I'd go queen d7. I'd take on c7, b7, a6, do the whole vacuum cleaner over there. But the a3 pawn is just so weak. I just can't find ways to hold on to that and make my position stable enough that my queen can leave.
Correct. It's all about who gets there first, too. Something as simple as like queen b2, looking at this line, we get there first, and now we can't take on b7, and c5's hanging, and we have a passed pawn, knight's hanging. Game is not looking too good there. So black to move, and he's still in the think tank here. Maybe something like g6 just to consolidate a little bit and move the king to g7. That's always like a good move to make when you don't really know what to do. So maybe g6, king g7, also king f8, trying for king e7, but he might be a little bit too open there. 95 is also a move. It does just threaten the queen, but you can't go to f3. So he plays queen e6, just sidesteps, says, what are you going to do? Also threatening h3 as well. Interesting.
Right, and queen 8, yeah, okay, so they agree to a draw here. So
Nice.
they're kind of thinking along the same lines as us. There's just not a lot of play on both sides.
Yeah, and they don't want to push anything. He said, you know what, we'll take a draw. We'll take a draw there. With a few more games left, Christopher Yu still in first place. No one with that keeps him in straight up first place no matter what. There's no one that can catch him right now that is still playing in these last few games. So shout out to Christopher Yu with a clean first place. Literally only sole first place lead here for Christopher Lee, 4 out of 5. With 2 draws and no
Whoa,
losses,
what's
by
going
the
on
way.
here?
Whoa, G6. So you got to probably put something on the file with a smile. Put something on the file. But he has this knight hanging. That's the problem. That's a big problem.
And moving that knight
But
is not so easy because the
maybe you do it
f3 rook
anyway, though.
actually.
Check and f7 anyway, and you have f8 for queening. He might go for it. There it is. Rook h3. Tactics.
Right.
Games. Bishop takes. Hit him with the check. King f7. And then f7. I'm hitting the rook and I'm queening. I get my material right back. And I'm up in exchange.
And it's important that you move the f3 rook and not the f1 rook. Otherwise, the bishop at the end of these tactics would be hitting the f3 rook. So
Right.
the f1 rook needs to stay put, watch the back rank, and stay off the diagonal of that bishop.
He is correct, actually. Very nice observation. Using the other rook might not be that good because of the diagonal, and keeping the rook here on the back rank just to, chill a little bit and also keep this here to defend. Very nice. Absolutely.
So how does this line go? It's pretty forcing. If bishop takes d5, then we could play out some moves, right? The king g8 is the only move, right?
I think king g8 is best, right? Because you have bishop f7, engine just, it's mate. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's mate. So you have to go to
e6.
e6 then?
You have to go king e6, right? Check. Yeah, you have to go king e6 and then f7, and that is it. I'm queening. You can't even move the rook. You can't even
But
move
it's
it.
it's it's somehow saying like +1, right?
Why he won? He just resigned. He was like, I had enough. I
But
had
then why
enough.
was the engine only saying
Throwing it down.
+1? Was there
Right.
something
Oh,
that
you're right though. You're right.
it
Let's
was saying
actually
only
see.
+1?
It's like +1.
Is there
It's
something that
bishop
we're
takes
all
d5,
missing?
check, king e6, f7. And what is it? Bishop g5 check first, then king b1, and then rook c8. But I'm still queening, but it's still equal in a way. It's like slightly equal. Rook takes. So you have this position here where I guess
Uh-huh.
these pawns are enough because I have bishops. But a human evaluation, white's winning, right?
Yeah.
Human. As a human here, you're doing good. I mean, but these past pawns are scary. I have
Plus, you're
had some
watching the
pawns
H2
like that.
square, so there's back rank problems as well.
Right. Oh, yes, correct. Correct. So if you like just slip, you can he made it on the back rank. Interesting. But he just resigned. He didn't want to go through any of it, guys. And now round 5 starts here, or actually not yet. We have 3 more games. Interesting enough. 3 more games still. These are tough games. They're going down to the wire. They're using every second in these games. Every second
So
in these
white has a
games.
queen and black doesn't, but it's not an overwhelming advantage here. It's just a small advantage.
I think rook. Oh, is it white to move? Oh, it's black to move because rook takes c3. I was like, all right. I mean, my tactics alert is always on fire. Tactics senses are always tingling. Right. Rook takes, and h6 was the idea to put the queen on f6 and hit the rook in g7.
Mm-hmm.
But white to move now. Engine is going crazy. I thought it was knight g5, but rook f6 is annoying. Now what do you do? Like, oh, h6 don't work. Yeah, I didn't like this. I didn't like this because I have to defend now.
Maybe queen d6. Oh no, the rook is watching d6. What
Right.
am I doing?
Queen e3 though.
Queen e3. Yeah, queen e3 is not.
But yeah, like it's not
It's
what I want.
stable.
It's stable. Exactly. This is like we were crushing. Now it's like stable.
Rook d1, maybe. I don't know.
Rook d1. I like rook d1. Rook d1 does hit the bishop. Bishop got to move somewhere. I want to get h6 to work and maybe bishop d5, but he has 96. He does play
I
h6.
wanted to.
Like
There
what
were
do you?
so
Oh,
many
he
pieces.
took it. Wow. Queen d4. But he took. He does it anyway. Wow, that was strong. Oh my goodness, hitting everything. Everything's falling. It's an everything must go sale today. Wow, that was beautiful. If rook c6, you just take it.
Yeah, this is a checkmating idea, right? Like this is not just
Oh,
material up. This
that's
is
right.
checkmate on the board.
It actually had to be. He
I'm
played
sure
rook
there's something.
c6. I think it was this first though. Well, no, it's still made anyway. It didn't matter. I think taking because if you take, the idea was rook here. Because now he did it the other way though.
Oh,
He did it the other way. So now this is a little bit different. He's just taking everything must go sale. It's clearance. It's free today. Everybody gets a piece of this. That's me. Have a nice day. All right. To the next game. Beautiful. That was great. Great attacking chess. Greg Shahadi finishing it out here. This is one of the hardest end games for anyone playing with either side, actually. With white, it's not as easy. If the pawn was gone, it's a little bit easier, but it's still a lot of technique left. And objectively, this position is drawn with the bishop and the rook here. That's what they did. They took a draw here. It took a draw, but there's a lot of games where you see. Have you seen those games, Paul? Bishop.
I've seen some of them. I know that end games like this aren't in normal end game books. You have to go to the really tough ones like the Dvoretsky end game manual to
Dvoretsky. Yeah.
find write ups on this, and there are pages and pages on how to play these kinds of positions. I know they're
Yep.
very complicated.
Yeah, I think Geary just won one recently with Bishop Rook versus Rook. It was it's tough, very tough position.
But
And
black
now
is
we're
a
into
pawn
round
too,
6.
and that makes it that's another
It makes it
twist.
harder, correct? And they just
Mm-hmm.
took a draw. They just took a
Mm-hmm.
draw here. So now top positions. Looks like the Super NM Bean Screen 2738 is in first place over Christopher Yu due to tie breaks, Sonnenberger tie breaks, due to tie breaks. But Christopher Yu is in second place. And they're tied for first, to say the least. They both have 4. And they aren't playing. I think they played before. Oh, is this what's going on here?
Now, what I want to see is if Andrew Tang can make a comeback here. He's 3 out of 5. He's the strongest player in the field. He's a full point behind, but I want to see if he can make a comeback here.
Here he is right now playing a Joe Bava London. Shout out to all the Joe Bava London
Mm.
fans in the chat. Anyone that loves Joe Bava, here's your guy right here. Okay, so he plays a6. I hate Joe Bava, just to be honest, just to put that out there. I hate the Joe Bava London. So this is now always a lesson for me to watch for black because it's annoying playing against the Joe Bava. So e6.
Do you play the London as white?
No, I actually play e4 for life.
E4 for life.
But of course, when I'm playing against D4, I play King's Indian defense. But the Jabal of London is very annoying. I had some very bad losses to it. Now I know what to do, but man, I had some very bad losses to the Jabal of London. I'm not even going to lie. Knight to B6 is the ideal threat with bishop takes B8. So if he allows, then he just lost. He just lost the game. Like Knight B6 wins on the spot, right?
Wow.
He just lost the game, guys. Man, I mean, just absolutely terrible move here. And I think Andrew Tang is thinking like, what? He's really thinking like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's the idea? And maybe he's thinking it's some type of trap, but he's definitely, I would think here too.
Yeah.
The guy is playing really good. And I know he didn't just miss Knight B6. Maybe he did, but like, what's your counter to this move?
Yeah. And, this is, I see that players that
There it
are
is.
national masters like this, they can play excellent games, but what grandmasters have over them is sometimes just consistency. Andrew Tang will consistently play very, very well. And, this is one of the areas that they have over national masters.
Consistency. And that's just like, how chess is life, and in everything, consistency will be very, very good in what you're doing. And that is correct. I do like the word you use there. Consistency is correct. He stays consistent. And where's Andrew Tang in the standings? He took 2 L's. So he's in 7th. I mean, he still qualifies right now with 1 round left. So he wins the next 2 games. He could very well be qualifying.
Right. So if you're in the chat and you're wondering why the A8 rook can't just move to A7, it's because it has to hold the B8 knight. The B8 knight is really the problem here. It's not the rook.
Yeah, bishop take the rook. And that's it. So I think he's sitting here thinking like, how did I get here? Why did I do this? Like, all the bad things.
Yeah. So honestly, this game just looks, there's almost no compensation either. White's already up a pawn on C5. Black will take that C5 pawn back.
I mean,
but other than that, the rest of the board is just, there's almost no compensation for the piece. There's this knight on A8 is trapped. It might get picked up someday, but that's more time that White gets to develop.
I mean, he got crushed. I mean, this is like crushing. Like, and not that he got crushed, like, Andrew Tang just like destroyed him. He just blundered, which happens. He does blunder. People blunder, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else on the board other than this tactic, I'd say. Like I said, it's just, Black has almost no compensation for the piece.
He plays G5. I think that's pretty interesting.
G5, okay.
G5.
An attempt to mix it up, right? The bishop on F4 is what makes this whole thing work. And if the bishop gets sidelined, like let's say the bishop goes to G3 and it gets captured, then suddenly White's tactics are, maybe a bit more complicated and harder to find because now I'm not taking on B8.
Great observation. When you are losing, you have to look for everything that you can find. And here, I mean, even that is correct. Like bishop E5, maybe F6. Hold on. Okay, nothing. It just looks good. Man,
right.
It just looks good. I'm really nothing, huh?
So let's take this exact position and go bishop G3, knight takes G3. Is there anything there? Oh, there was bishop D6. There was bishop D6 instead of G3. Oh, no, the knight takes D6.
Yeah, the knight takes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Oh, wait a second.
Because that's with check. We could still take the rook.
Oh, but he has king takes.
Because
you can still take the rook anyway.
Exactly.
King takes his knight takes, yeah. So bishop D6, snaps. Now we just win in here.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go back. This is the live position.
It's on the board.
It's on the board, y'all.
So bishop D6 is what I'd go for, right? Bishop D6 and then take on A8.
For more, because I would be looking for more as well. Bishop D6, I would be satisfied, but I would still be like, I mean, there had to be something else. Because like the reason I'm saying that is because he gets this knight back, and I'm still crushing, but like it's gonna be a while. I don't have anything developed, and this is strong. This doesn't look as weak as it looks, right? But it's not. It's actually a strong center. So I still have work to do. You would expect to be crushing, but here, I mean, we're up material. So let's actually see what he did in the game here. And this is the live position. So let's see what happens here.
Yep. And it's the king on D6. Honestly, if the king were somehow safe, then I would say Black has. This is still a game, right? White with advantage, but it could go anyway. But the king on D6, I'm looking at long castles to get the rook on the open file. I'm looking at E4, open up the game. Is there any way I can get to this king?
That's correct here. And how do we get to the king is the question, right? Knight to C6, yeah. And then maybe bishop D7, and then we're just going to take this knight. So White has still work to do, guys. This is strong. Like, he's a center. Look at that. immediately as we say it, he tries to break it up because this is strong. And with 2 bishops, and I'm going to get this knight back. I'm going to get it back. I'm going to be okay in the long run. That's crazy to even say that with a king on d6. Looks are very deceiving in chess.
Yeah, and also, if I were black, I'd really like to go maybe king c7, king b8, but that knight is still watching c7. The king can't find safety until he first picks up this knight, so the king is
Right.
not leaving the center of the board anytime soon.
Yeah, so e4 is on the board. They're just chilling here, just kind of waiting, seeing what's happening next. Because I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. Let's actually look at the first board here, because I know they kind of somebody like didn't move or something for a few 20 seconds or something. So, all right, this game is live. Let's actually see what this became from the beginning. D4.
Okay, so we have a Carlsbad structure here.
Correct. Bishop D7. Oh, yeah, he just takes on C3. Okay. And this is the live position. Yeah, these aren't fun for me. I'm just like bored as white here. Like I'm not attacking the king. My piece is on the queen side of the board. It's so boring, but it's classical chess here. Some of this stuff is classical here, but what do you actually think about this position, Paul?
Yeah, so in order to win, attacking the king is the most fun, but you don't have to attack the king here. What you have
Correct.
here is that black is going to have the weaknesses with the cluster of 4 pawns on the queen side, and we create those weaknesses by doing what's called a minority attack. The B pawn, the A pawn, they're going to run down the board, and we find ways to create weaknesses with those pawns by opening it up at the right time with the B and A pawns. Now, this idea is going to fail if black gets an attack on our king because we're putting so much focus on the queen side, but honestly, without an F6 knight, without a D6 bishop, I don't see an attack materializing on the white king anytime soon. So even though the engine is saying it's roughly equal, I really like white here. I'm looking at ways of getting b4 in. You can't get it in right now, but can I prepare it with rook b1, a3, get b4, b5, and try to get this open b file to attack d7, get this minority attack rolling?
Very, very descriptive. It's actually 100% correct. And many openings besides this one as well, like the London system, you have Caro-Kann exchange, and certain openings like this provoke these weaknesses. Even what is it? Caro-Kann Botvinnik attack. I'm a fan of that. Where this does happen, queen b3, you attack these pawns, and eventually you get something on the king here. But that is correct here. Bishop to f3, queen b3. I like all these ideas. Playing on the side that you're strongest on. I also believe and know that actually your pawn structure tells you which side of the board you should be playing on. So they're actually pointing this way, which all your play is going to come from this side of the board. So it's actually really good for white here. And with the idea that he's doing, also Paul backing it here, this is the way to play. Bishop f3, queen to b3, hitting these pawns, bring a rook to the c file, and maybe even removing the queen, playing knight a4 and knight to c5 in some cases, if we can, with no real attacks for black, because we don't have a dark square bishop, like he mentioned, and we don't have anything that can like mess this up besides f4, f5, which now that messes up his own king side as well. It's pretty good, bro.
Yeah, the only concern I have about targeting the d5 pawn directly is if black gets in c6, right? So for example, you go bishop f3 now,
Bishop
and the
f3.
knight runs to e7, defending
Okay.
the pawn, hitting the queen, preparing c6. And suddenly, black's defense on the queen side is starting to come together. And I feel like that knight moving to e7 is coming towards g6. And again, if there's no attack on the king, white very comfortably breaks this down with the attack on the queen side. But if white is too slow, black can materialize pressure using the e4 square with the knight, maybe the h4 square as Canty as outlined here. And so, I'm really preferable towards b4 b5 pawn breaks eventually, and I'm just concerned about giving black too much time to consolidate.
That's correct. I would, attacking chess is attacking chess, whether it's on the king or it's on anything else. That's how it works. That's exactly how you do it. You calculate and you attack on what you have. And if you see, now he centralized the rooks here, play on the c file here, maybe bishop f3. You still have maybe even bishop d3, not as strong. I mean, maybe it does stop bishop f5. Maybe that's probably the move, actually.
Bishop
Plays
d3, yeah,
a3.
bishop d3 looks very good. And
No
there's
problem.
a3, a3 b4. We're looking at that, and I don't know how much I like b6. I mean, obviously c5 is a different idea. With b6 c5, black can sometimes hope for c4. C4 is a bit committal because it releases pressure on the d4 pawn. But if I get in c4 as black, then I'm playing with my 3-on-2 majority on the queen side.
That is correct, actually. Yep, 3-on-2
And
majority
that's what
here.
this b6 move signals to me, that I'm ready to play c5, c4, and white has to make sure that he's prepared for this plan, honestly.
And that's why b4 is important, because c5 is going to be annoying. It starts to break down stuff, and it does. These are strong. Like, yeah, they're disconnected now, but c5 makes everything look really, really nice. Very pretty pawn structure. White does need something to do, though. They do need to make a move. I'm considering even e4 right now. Actually, it's black to move now. I mean, it's black to move. He went rook c8, but I'm considering really this e4 move. It does mess up a lot. Takes, knight takes. Opens up some lines.
Bishop f5. Oh, sorry, the queen's being
Yeah,
hit.
queen's hanging. Queen had to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe bishop d3 or bishop f3. Interesting.
Maybe queen g6.
Queen g6. And then maybe what would we do? I mean, he
Queen
gotta
g6,
kind of go
bishop
bishop
f5.
d3, bishop f5 anyway. That's
Right,
annoying.
and I like white's space, but I'm just wondering how white breaks through.
Exactly, and that's just not. It's not looking that good, right? Knight d5, maybe queen c6. But then if I got to trade, I'm not happy, right? And I now have to trade because like you're making good moves, right? So it's not that good. This is what they chose. I actually see the last few moves. Queen b3, bishop e6, and now it's white to move.
Now c5 is a complicated idea, because if I get c5, one way that white can control the game is by not taking on c5 and saying, play c4, see what happens. And another way white can control the direction is by taking on c5 and giving black a hanging pawn center. And so white is black kind of has to spend a lot of time preparing the c5 break, because he has to be ready for both plans. Does white take on c5, or does white not take on c5 and let me play c4?
That is correct. And he actually chose rook to b8. And if c5, of course, you do have pawn takes with some issues here
Just
on this
hanging
pawn,
pawn center.
right? Hanging
Exactly.
pawn center. So he played rook to b8, actually, to make everything pretty solid. Everything pretty solid. Let's actually see what's going on here. It looks like Elshan won his game. Maybe he drew that.
Did he?
I don't know if he won or drew. He got 4.5 out of 6. Yeah, he must have drew. He must have 4, because he had 4, I think. Yeah, so 4.5. He's doing great, Elshan.
And what was the game with the rook that was dropped?
That was
or the rook.
Oh yeah, that was Penguin's game.
That was Penguin. Let's see how Penguin's doing.
Let's
okay, this is so good for. Oh, well, actually, the king's on f1. I thought the king was castled.
We got this far. This is what happened, and then the next few moves he played here, c3, okay, rook d1, no castling. He got that piece out. He's up a piece.
It's a big piece too. It's a full rook.
Yeah, he's up a rook. He's up a whole rook here.
And
wow,
is he up? It's just a rook, just a rook. The king on f1 is a bit strange, but actually that white king is much. It's very safe. It's very hard to get on that light squared diagonal without a light squared bishop to attack it.
Yeah, correct. There's nothing else you can hit either. Like, you need to have the bishop on c5 and somehow get the queen on his diagonal without being captured, and hope that he misses it as well. So like, there's just too much going on. Rook b1 looks winning.
b6. It looks strange, but a7 is a nice home for the king.
That is correct. Yes, this king is going to run for the hills. So we could just wait. Can we just take the bishop? This is hanging. The bishop's hanging. Did we do that, or is that the live game?
Yeah.
Rook takes bishop.
Rook takes bishop.
Here, guys. Wow.
Huh. Yeah, I don't see any compensation.
There it is. Rook takes bishop.
There it is. Yeah.
Rook takes bishop. It's over. We have so much material here, and we haven't even moved the knight and the rook yet.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, do you need to move them to win the game from here? Like, can you just leave the king on f1 and
make it a challenge? Like, you know what? I'm going to only use these 3 pieces.
I mean, black has 3 pieces. White has 3 pieces. Yeah. It seems pretty equal to me.
It's pretty equal, right? H4 and rook h3. I love this. I love this type of sequence here. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people do that.
Rook d8 is a bit tricky, because if there's no rook coming back to d1, there might be checks on the king. Obviously, white is still doing amazing here, but I'm just wondering, as black, can I find ways to get checks on the king before the king gets to safety? And obviously g3 is just, the king's coming to g2 too quickly. It's just very, very safe there.
Yeah, here, sometimes, when you're losing like this, you just like, you know what? I'm just going to move pieces and like try to get this over with quickly. And this hurts. King to g2, knight f3. There it is. He just resigned. It's like, yeah, I'm done. Okay, I lost this one. I think that's his first L. Bean screen. And now he took 2 L's. So this is the second one. But he's in 3rd place. The super in him, Bean screen.
Bean screen's doing very well.
Yeah, he's doing great, man. This 2nd place is Christopher Yu, and Elshan's in 1st. We have a few games left. Actually, let's check out Christopher Yu, see how he's doing.
Ooh, I like white's position. And what I like is that those pawns on that light square, that kind of those 4 pawns on the queen's side, they're just keeping that light square bishop on e6 out of the game, and it's making it a bit difficult to even target b4 and b2. The pawns that seem very weak, how do you actually target them? How do you get a rook in? How do you get a knight in?
He can get the knight in, but he can always be kicked quickly.
Exactly.
Like, so
Like,
knight c4 wouldn't do anything.
it's those light squared pawns that really make me question exactly how black creates an active plan. Black's going to have to defend a6 and c6 all game.
And you make
I
the
like
threats.
bishop b7, but I don't like it with the rook on b6.
Yeah, you see how he's
Like, if
just
the rook was
hitting?
on b8, I'd say you have an idea, but the rook on b6, that's kind of a sad rook.
Yeah, yeah. All right, this rook can't move. Like, it's very rare positions that you have a rook like this that can't move from your own pieces too. Like, that's pretty funny. It's very rare. With b3, we did kick that knight, get him
b3,
out of
there we
there.
go.
You have to take it. Yeah, knight takes and knight moves somewhere. This looks ridiculous. This looks absolutely ridiculous for black. But he's somehow holding this, somehow holding it. Now it says that's not a move. So, like, what is it, Zugzwang or something? Like, how is this
Even
working?
even if there's not a clear breakthrough, it's just apparent. White can create threats and black cannot. So even if white has to take 20, 30 moves to find out how to break through, he could take that time. Black has no threats here. White has all the threats and black has all the weaknesses.
Yep, black has all the weaknesses here. C6, I mean, this rook is actually weak because it's just sitting here defending. Has no other chance of survival, but just sitting here and defending. Now, I think maybe bishop, we have to get this in. It's white to move. He's probably just going to go back. They play rook b7. Oh, he got 20 seconds here, too. Christopher Yu is down a lot of time right now. I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 26 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do
Okay,
that.
so this game could still go either way. It takes time to really massage a win from this kind of position.
He resigns. Christopher Yu says, I've had enough. I don't have time for this. Literally.
Oh, I thought it was white that was low on time. It's black. Okay,
it's
yeah.
black.
Yeah.
Christopher
White's
Yu.
doing fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, he got taken out that game. White's, whoa, what is this? Mate on G4?
This is
Oh
like a
my
mating net.
goodness. Wow, beautiful. What do? You can't get out of this, mate.
There's no moves.
Find a move.
Capture your own piece
Okay,
on
you found
e6,
a
and even
move.
then,
Yeah,
both knights are
exactly.
watching e6. I don't know.
I have never seen something like this. I mean, I have, but like, how do you get this around the king? What a beautiful mate, guys. That was definitely some type of chess.com puzzle there. Let's actually just go back a few. I just want to see, how did this happen? 2 knights versus 2 bishops is like always the bishops are the favorite. Now, so this is very, very rare. Knight takes h5. He played knight g5, and he just went crazy. He just went crazy. He just walked right into it. Like, oh, hey, girl, mate me, bro. Mate me. Please.
Well, he
mate.
didn't have a choice once he was on g6.
Yeah. Well, he had king 8.
Oh,
You're right.
he had king h6.
No,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, he had king h6. This looks like mate, but it's not. But I guess, I mean, he's kind of like losing now because he's dropping the pawns. So he didn't want to do that and said, you know what? I'm going to get a little bit closer to you. But he literally locked himself into the closet here. And
Right. And if I could sort of put myself in the mind of black here, I see my e6 weakness, g7 weakness, and even before the h5 pawn was taken, I have my h5 weakness. And I say to myself, okay, my king needs to defend these things. It's very natural to move the king over there, and it's very unnatural to see this kind of mating net. So, the king to f7 and g6 idea is very reasonable, even if it's completely losing. It's the first thing you look at it, and you see if it's winning, and you see if it's okay. It's obviously not, but
obviously not, right? It didn't work. Like, that's just very rare. Oh my goodness, that's going down in the history books for that one. And we still have one more game left, actually. Somebody's flagging in literally point something seconds here, and he flags. Black wins. Oh my goodness, that one hurts. That hurts. I mean, we've all been here before. Shout out to everyone. Okay, we're all here together. Hugs to everyone. Okay, when you get to this kind of position and you're winning with the white pieces, right? But then, you flag and black wins. Black ends up winning this game because you flagged. Okay, yeah. It happens to us all. That hurts. That hurts to see. Now on to the final round, guys. The top 8 are going to advance to this one. So let's see who's in the top 8 right now. I don't think they do tiebreak. I think it's only top 8 for this one. Top 8. So 8th, yeah, Sonnenberger's involved. Yeah, so it's going to be top 8. So whoever gets 8th place right now is 3.5. So anyone that gets 4 will end up qualifying. So let's see. These are the last games, guys. Final round. A lot of people are like, man, What? They took a draw? Stop playing. No, they didn't.
Prearranged draws. They happen all the time,
Wow.
right?
Really,
Right?
Elshawn? Let's just get this off the screen. Oh my goodness. They took a draw.
Playing like true grandmasters
All
there.
right, we out. Yeah, true grandmasters. Oh, all right, I'm in. I'm out. I'm in. I'm out. He took a draw. Okay. Well, all right, cool. Well, we'll go to Christopher Yu and see what's going on here. Christopher Yu is where is he at in the standings? He's in 5th. So if he loses this, this would be a hard game to lose because that could be a very close spot. I think he still would qualify if he loses, but that would be a very hard, like, if you don't want to give yourself that chance, right? If you lose a game, you could very well may not make it. It's kind of weird. I think
Now,
he's still good, though.
I know this position without G6 played. If Knight F6 were played instead, Bishop E7, right? If those two ideas were played instead, then White would go Knight C3, Rook
Yeah.
E1, Bishop F4. But this G6 move is just a little strange to me. It's not wrong. It's just unusual.
Strange. Yeah. And what I like to say all the time is you have to adapt to the position. I love this B3 move by Christopher Yu because you have to adapt to what's going on. It may be something different on the board. You might always go Knight C3 here. You might always do some move, but you're adapting to what they played. He played G6. You know, I'm actually going to put my bishop on B2. So now we have something here. Now he is putting himself in a voluntary pin when it happens because you can't do anything. But after Knight F6 now, he's actually blocked that voluntarily pin that he was in. Now the bishops hit both sides here, and this is actually a cool position to be in. Now I have the rook file. Maybe I can play F4 and F5, Knight F3, Knight D2, F3, and G5. I mean, there could be some miraculous attack here due to the fact that he chose to put his bishop here besides the regular bishop to G5 or E3. It's very outside the box thinking, which is really good.
Yeah, and I actually do like, believe it or not, I prefer black here over white. I like that the C6 and D6 pawns control a lot of squares. I can get the D5 advance in, or sometimes even C5. I like that at basically any time I could trade off the dark squared bishops. It's up to me.
Oh my, you know what? Get out of here. They taking draws everywhere. Are you serious?
Christopher Yu is already a true
Took a
grandmaster
draw.
here, right? Taking the prearranged draws.
Hey, draw, bro. All right, draw. Okay. All right, take a draw. Another draw. All right, let's see. Greg Shahadi.
For people in the
Come
chat
on,
who might be
Shahadi.
wondering what's going on, you only need so many points to qualify. So, you know, if you get the draw, it doesn't matter. You're still qualified. You don't have to be number one to qualify.
That is correct. Yep, that is correct. And if you see, guys, if you take a look at the standings to your left, the top 8 qualify. So whoever you see in the, oh my goodness, everybody taking draws here. Okay, this is going to end quick then. This is going to be over real fast, guys. It's going to be over real fast. Everybody take a draw. So we're probably going to have to watch the guys that really need to win. Really need to win because they have to win. So if you look at everyone on the left, okay, everyone on the left there, anyone who makes it in the top 8 spots will advance to the final bracket. If you don't make it to the 8th bracket, to the 8th spot, anything below 8, 9, all the way through, you will not make it. You will not make it. So it is the top 8, guys. It is the top 8. So let's actually count them off here. Let's see who's in the top. We have Dretch, he's qualifying. Elshawn qualifying. Christopher Yu qualifying. Bean Screen qualifying. Penguin qualifying, which is Andrew Tang. Speed of Light qualifying, and Greg Shahadi, who is qualifying. Wait a second, though. Any of these three, if this 3.5 game wins, somebody's going home. It's one of those, like, whoever wins this what game is this? Area 5. Area 5. Oh, the game right here we're watching. So if Area 5 wins this game, that would put him in 7th, which puts Greg in 8th, which I think puts the Love will be kicked out.
He's also 200 points behind Dry County, so he's the underdog. He's playing black, 200 points behind, and he's got to win this game
When
for
all
that result,
odds
at least.
are against me, right? When all are, who out there can feel that, right? When all odds are against me, will we rise against the ashes and use my Jedi lightsaber to win? We don't know. We're about to see. Queen F6, and then yeah, whose move is it here actually? Yes, Queen F6 and D5. Okay, so
D5.
I don't know. What's the pawn count? 3, 6, 7, 3, 6, 7. Sort of even. Really even. It's just not good. I don't want to be even.
White has the 2 bishops, but what I see here is that White's bishops just don't have a whole lot of space to maneuver and set up. Because normally when you get these long-range bishops, they're very safe. It's hard to attack them, and they're operating from a distance. Well, when they're operating up as close as they are right now, I'm imagining maybe some point There's going to be a knight e5 hitting the bishop on f3, or maybe even if the e5 pawn never moves, the bishop on g3 is just going to be staring at granite. It can't break through this e5 pawn if I play f6. And so these bishops are just not getting the space that they really want. And that's what I see when I see White's position. He's got the two bishops, but how big of an advantage is it?
That's right. And they're actually both biting on granite right now. Temporarily, this one can be pushed. And actually, that was a very quick temporary
Yep.
as he immediately opened it up, immediately hitting the b7 pawn. Now, rook to b8 can be played here, maybe even capturing first, actually. I like this move first. I'm a big fan of Zhishenzugs in between moves. And after bishop takes, maybe rook b8
Bishop
here.
c6.
And then, yeah, I guess he's okay. Knight here. I don't have another threatening move. Kind of sucks when you don't have threatening moves. But you also had this in between move as well, that instead of or captures, well, no, actually, I thought he would play something else. We can't get e4 in enough time. I thought e4 was something we could get in, but we actually can't. These bishops are biting granite. Let's actually see what happened on the board. Nothing so far. d6 with bishop takes b7 as the intention.
Right, and you know, just as I said, White finds a way to open up his f3 bishop, and that bishop is operating very well. As black, rook b8 is a very attractive idea. I like your in-between move idea as well, just to get the open b file to work with.
Yeah, and then I did see bishop c6, but I just didn't like bishop c6 is annoying. It really is kind of annoying.
Can I go rook d8?
Rook d8. You know what? I do like this move. Actually hitting d6 and defending. And then he takes maybe e4. E4
and rook takes
like,
b4, and this is the open file I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, just take on b4. Right. Just take on b4, hitting this. Yeah, should be good. I mean, shoot. This
White's
looks good.
White's got a good bishop. Black's got a good rook.
This looks good. Yeah, that's how you do it. Well, what happened? What happened just now? Okay, takes. So he didn't take on b7 at all. He didn't even go for it. He played e4 here, and now we up in exchange. This might be what area 5. I'm rooting for area 5. I'm really rooting for him right now because he's an underdog for real. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm up in exchange. You know, this is not over yet because these bishops, like you said, they need these open diagonals, and they're doing a great job of doing that right now. This bishop's actually defending the passed pawn on the board. And if you look at the engine evaluation, what does it say? It's equal, even being down in exchange. That says a lot about White's position.
Right, exactly. You know, White's given up the rook on a1, which obviously wasn't playing in the game, in order to get his bishops into the game. These open diagonals are very nice. The passed pawn on d6 is very strong. It's obviously black has counterplay, which is why the engine is saying it's equal, but black has his perks.
Black has his perks, correct. And one of the biggest perks, of course, is just having the extra rook. So maybe rook to c1 and rook to c7 is probably the next way of doing things. Rook to c8 honestly doesn't matter. Yeah, I think if rook to c8, we still go rook to c7 anyway. With the idea, guys, of if rook to c7 and rook takes and captures, and no matter what happens, bishop takes b7, and we're queening and have a nice day. Game's over. So let's see what happens in this move. Rook to c8 is not a move, which means I can just play rook to c7 whenever I want to. So he plays rook to d8, rook to c7 probably still should be a thing. There it is. And knight to b6 or f6. He plays knight f6 instead.
Is bishop h4 ever an idea?
I think after bishop f3.
Yeah.
But you know what? I like bishop h4, but I was looking for that too. I was looking for that, like bishop h4, but he does have just
or bishop b7.
Takes now.
Instead of bishop f3.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Why not just take the pawn? Yeah. Yeah, what's wrong with this? Maybe here. Oh, that's kind of annoying. A little bit.
Oh, no. You don't need to move the rook on c7 because when the pawn takes back, it's a fork.
Oh, yeah. So maybe bishop a6. But then he might not have to take the rook,
though. Oh, yeah.
Man, chess is amazing. Chess is absolutely amazing.
What about bishop d5 to strike at f7? I mean, I'm going, real deep here.
Here he goes. He's going.
Bishop d5.
Knight takes, but then I mean, it's not looking too good now.
Yeah, okay, the rooks are too active.
Right, it's not looking too good.
Although I get a7 as well. I get a7 there as well. That's a really deep idea.
That's a deep, yeah. That's a deep one. And this is where we are. This is the live position right now. This is it, guys. This is it. This is the live position right now. We just analyzed a few different variations. Is it going to be rook e7? Is it going to be bishop d5? Is it going to be, we don't know what it's going to be because it all looks wild. Bishop d5 was probably the best shot because you do get it. You snag a few pawns and hope for the best because other than that, this is not that easy.
I like white after bishop d5 and that forced line because after I take on a7, I've got the two passed pawns on b and a.
Yeah, I think it's, here takes check. takes. And
Or I've got one passed
changing.
pawn.
We got one, but
it feels like enough. It feels like enough to push.
maybe
Because
here,
that 8, that activity for
it's
white
not
is
bad.
just
It's active. It's very active.
it's very active.
Very active. It says pawn d7 from the chat. He played bishop d5. That's what they're going for. Pawn to d7 though.
Bishop
pawn to
d5.
d7 would fail to knight takes. So yeah, bishop d5 is on the board. Here it is.
I like this for white.
Bishop d5 is on the board.
And surprisingly enough, he didn't go the line we wanted.
He played a3,
right?
But that actually holds everything. Now he doesn't. We could play around a little bit.
A5,
maybe poke around h4. A5. That's a good move. A5 it's an annoying move. I think I would just probably take it though, because you're stuck for a while. So I'm about to try to queen this.
That's true.
I'm about to try to queen this. So maybe not a5. Yeah,
I'm thinking like a5, maybe knight b5 now.
Knight b5. I gotta take this way, and then like king f8. Oh snap! Where do I move my rook? Whoa! I don't know. What's going on now. That's not good. That's not good. Maybe knight b5, but it's not like winning. So what's the move?
It's not.
What's the move, engine? Like what's the best move? Rook e7. Oh my goodness, that's a nasty move. Rook e7.
Rook e7.
You take mine, I take yours. That's so hard to find. Rook e7, bro. That's nasty. It's a great move. But he didn't play knight b5 here yet. Maybe he's still thinking about it. He played rook b5 instead. So now the b5 square is taken. Maybe just bishop a2. Back that boy all the way up, away from civilization, doing the same thing that it was doing on d5. Maybe bishop b3. I don't know. One or the other.
Can I trade on d6, take on f7, take on a7?
You can now. You actually can.
And hold everything and just say...
How active do we get with these rooks? Rook f5?
Can I try this? Because I've got the extra pawn here. This is an improvement.
And then maybe rook d2? I don't know. This is an improvement. I agree. I don't know how active those rooks get. He didn't go for it. He actually chose bishop c6. And then now what? Just go back? Bishop d5? Area 5 is fighting for his life. He's trying to win this game.
Can I take on d6 and go b5?
I like this idea actually. This one may do it.
A6.
Oh, you're right.
A6, A4. It's so difficult for both sides, I think.
White's still doing fine though. I mean, especially with this pawn being down this far now, and the rooks not as active as they could be. Also, bishop's holding g2. So if he ever got his rooks down here, he couldn't take on g2, which is a good thing to know. So the
king is very safe.
King's very safe, right? There it is, bishop a2. So they did go back. He went back, and then he went back, and then bishop to a2 is on the board. White's pushing for a win, bro. That's crazy. But black should be too. Like black's up in exchange. A5.
There we go. A5. Come on, area 5.
Bro. That's nice. A5 is there.
Who in the chat's rooting for area 5? I'm rooting for area 5.
Who's rooting for area 5?
There's that bishop h4 idea from earlier. But at least my knight's not attacked anymore. My knight can move.
Oh, yes.
My rook can move.
Yes. Where is he going?
F6 maybe? Who knows? F6 for the back rank. So like rook e8, bishop f6.
Bishop f6.
And then ideas of back rank attacks are...
And if he goes back, you go rook d8, huh? Yeah, but this is not what area 5 wants either. He's looking for a win. He has to win. Does he have to win? I think he has to win. Area 5 has to win. Yeah, that doesn't work. A draw would not do it. Draw would not do it for him.
I'm wondering if
totally insane. What's up, Greg? Maybe
if I really want to win here.
Oh yeah, Greg's right. G5.
If I really want to win here as black, I want to find a way to get a4 in. And just as I say that, he's traded off the a pawn. But if I get a4, then I want to find a way to take on a3. But this doesn't feel like black's really able to push for a win here.
Correct. Yeah, white has so much compensation. Rook takes b4 now from Greg. Rook takes b4, and then that's a good move, Greg. That's a good move. Bishop f6 anyway.
Yeah, bishop f6.
Rook b6. No. So maybe bishop g3. Bishop g3. At least I'm getting f7, but it's kind of tricky. Like knight f5. Rook takes. I don't know, man. It's like so many little tricks. It's not that easy. White should be okay, right? Yeah, white should be okay. But there's time's getting low, and that's definitely a huge factor here.
I kind of
Definitely.
feel like even if you take away White's activity, even if you kind of just like put the bishops on G3, F3 and take away White's activity, then it's really hard for Black to break through. Black is obviously pushing if you take away White's activity, but how does Black break through with a 3-on-3 like this? That's
Yeah,
going to take a long time.
that's going to take a long time, and virtually never happening being up in exchange. Unless you catch them off guard. But again, guys, we are in like 10 minutes, right? 10-minute games. They're getting down to almost under a minute, or at least Area 5 is. He's almost down under a minute here, guys, in a few seconds, and
So
he
Area
doesn't
5
have any
pushing for a
increment.
win now.
Yeah, he definitely pushing for a win. Absolutely. This knight's hanging, trying to hit on F7. So how do you defend this accurately? Knight F5 anyway? And just, I don't know. Check. King H2. He's out the way. So now probably hit mate just because. No, that wouldn't have worked. He would have check. Takes. Knight F5 now. Takes on F7. And now Black's winning. Ouch. Black is now winning.
Yeah, King F8. How do you get to the king?
Yep. How do you get to the king? You would love to play Bishop D6, but it's just not legal.
Come on, Area
Maybe
5.
Bishop F4. Come on, Area 5, right? Bishop F4 first. Oh, he has Rook E7, I think. Our idea is we're trying to play G4. If we kick the knight, then game's over. But if we can't kick the knight, I mean, we also have mate threats of our own about to hit us here. And I think that's what did it. Oh, he missed it. Wow. He missed his shot. Rook B1, I think, was threatening mate. H1. That was out. King G7.
Always sharp with the tactics there. I didn't see that tactic.
Yeah. That was tough. That was tough. Oh, man. That's crazy. Well, Area 5 is probably going to go down in this game here. And this is, where's Dry Country at in the standings? Dry Country is...
I could still hope for a dirty flag. That's what I want to see.
Oh, Dry Country was taking some hits. Dang. So Dry County. Dry County just like is a bully in a way. It's like he doesn't qualify if he wins. So he just wins. But of course, Area 5 does. Area 5 does. He was like, no, I don't qualify. You don't qualify either. You're not going with us either. Now, of course, this is a draw, maybe. Yeah, this has to be a draw.
Dry County has a minute 30. It's not incredibly difficult to play out these moves, especially because there's no black pawns on the board. But who knows how long this game's going to go? 50 move rule is okay.
Yeah,
well,
he took it and he drew. It was like, you know what, man, we'll take a draw. Wow, and that is a wrap. Let's actually take a look at the standings here. Dry County does not qualify, and Area 5. Oh my goodness, he qualified.
Area 5
Somehow he knocked him out
on tie breaks.
On tie breaks. Oh, I'll be so mad if I was Malev. I'm knocking everything off the table in front of me. Wow. Yikes, that's crazy. Just jumping like that, man. Area 5, right? Area 5-1. We're just gonna call him Area 51. Area 51 over here. Look at him, uses his powers and won that. That was awesome, guys. Like he just jumped it up there. Unbelievable. That was beautiful, man.
It's also a bit
finish, right?
It's a bit surreal to see the standings and see like 28, 28, 28, 27, 28, 27, and then Area 5.
Area 5, right. You see the last guy in there, 2501, just crept in there and was like, let's go. I am ready to hang with the big dog. Shout out to you too, Greg. I see you in the chat. Greg made it. And shout out to everyone that made it. That was actually pretty awesome there. US Chess Online Qualifier. And I think we wait around a little bit here to actually see for our what the standings are actually going to be. Confirm scores and tie breaks. Yeah. So you have to confirm scores and tie breaks and stuff like that. It's pretty good. Pretty good. How do you guys feel about that in the chat? About how did you enjoy the games? Let's actually check this last one out before it ends. This is the absolute last one here. Round's almost over. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
10 seconds. Nobody's getting checkmated here. This game is being decided on time.
Yeah. It could be something crazy. Once time gets crazy like this, you start throwing pieces and just don't care about life. There it is.
True.
See, you see what I'm saying?
There it is.
It happened right there.
There it is.
And he missed it too. Nice C5.
Yep.
You just don't care about life at this point when you just dropping like.
That being said, 1 second. 1 second.
Oh, he flagged him. G4.
There we go.
Ultimate flag.
No checkmates.
Ultimate flag, boy. I'm telling you, if I have this position against Nakamura and I flag him, guess what? I won. I won. Absolutely. All right. So tournament's over, guys. But let's actually wait for
Area 5's not in eighth anymore.
what? Oh my goodness. That
Area
is
5 is
crazy. What
he's
is
not in eighth.
going on? Area 51 going crazy now. Wow. He just knocked out an eighth. So shout out to G Young. Oh my goodness. G Young is a monster. Okay, got it. Yeah, G Young is a monster. Area 51 just got knocked out. The dirty flag takes it. What? That's crazy, guys. That's absolutely crazy. So, well, Paul, how did you feel about today, man? How do you feel about the next thing coming up?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, these games were very, very exciting. Again, long enough time controls that these guys can play really good, high quality chess. It's not just a race from the beginning, but still, you get the excitement and tension when these games start to wind down towards the end. Well, not really wind down, they wind up, right, when they're low on time.
Yes. I mean, that's actually excellent, man. I think all of this was awesome to see this high level chess, to be able to, be around this. And even tomorrow, we have even more chess tomorrow, guys. And right now, guys, what we're doing, actually, shout out to everyone being here today. And we're waiting for the final results. So we'll be here in a minute. We'll just be here for a second, guys, talking to you. But we do have the final results coming out very soon, so you guys are able to check them there. So tomorrow is the final bracket, though. Tomorrow is a little bit different. Final bracket. Tomorrow's setup is actually a 8-player KO, okay? 8-player knockout, 2 games of 10-2. So this is a little bit different. 10-2, that's the Pro Chess League time. Shout out to Greg Shoddy. 10 plus 2, it was nice actually playing those games. So 8-player KO, 2 games, 10-0. Tie break with 2 games of 5-2. If there is, for a tie break, if there's going to be 5-2. And if there's another tie, then it's going to be Armageddon. And 2 finalists advance to the final round robin, which is going to be absolutely amazing. Okay. All right, guys. So let's take a look at the schedule again. After the final bracket, we do have the invitational stage, December 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, all the way through the 18th, guys. Tomorrow will be the last thing that we look at until the invitational stage. Final bracket will be tomorrow. So I hope you guys are excited for that. And let's get back to it, man. Let's get back to it here. All right, here we go. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody that came and supported us today. First time seeing Paul in the chat. High quality commentary from you, and always great commentary from NMKT. Nice. Thanks, A. Becker. Appreciate it. Dre Genres, his world class commentary. We appreciate you a lot. Thank you for everyone watching today. We are waiting for the announcements. Hopefully, you guys come back tomorrow. Don't miss it. Same time tomorrow. 8-player knockout. It's going to be 8 players. So the top 8 that advance from today. We'll get the announcements and the official standings for that very soon. As soon as that comes out, guys, we're going to know for who's going to be in the 8-player knockout tomorrow with 2 games of 10 plus 2, 10 minutes, 2-second increment. These games today and all the other games were only 10-0. The tie break, if there is one, will be 2 games of 5 plus 2 Armageddon. 2 finalists advance to the final round robin. So it's going to be awesome. Hope you guys be here tomorrow as well. See who's in the chat here. Great commentary, Kenty, as usual. And Paul was a great new addition. Yeah, Paul will be here tomorrow as well at Vaith. Thanks, James and Paul. You're great. Thank you, Delta. This was great. Thank you, Kenty. Always appreciate your commentary. Always appreciate you, BJH. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much, Lolly and Bigfoot, the legend, with the hosts in the chat. Absolutely. Yeah, guys. So come back tomorrow. I mean, if you love today, tomorrow's going to be even better, to be honest. It's just going to be stronger chess. The best of the best who made it from today are going to be there tomorrow. Can you believe it? 8-player knockout, right? 8-player knockout. Hope you guys are ready for it.
So what I like about today's games is, the 2 favorites, Penguin and Christopher Yu, they made it in, they qualified, and they were the 2 that I was looking for. I know Penguin kind of had a little bit of trouble at the beginning, but he pulled through. That's the consistency that we're looking for.
Yeah, it's the consistency. Also, a lot of time trouble I saw from these guys. I mean, they were ready to play. It was a very fast chess and very strong chess, and some stuff. Hopefully, you guys learned some things today. I hope you guys learned today, because that's what it's all about. Generally, we really want you guys to learn. So, but let's take a look at actually again the Speed Chess Championship, guys. Check out this bracket. Talking about brackets, are you guys ready for this Speed Chess Championship? Okay, look at the next 2 matches coming out. We got Hikaru Nakamura versus Wesley So. You can't miss that. Then if you can't miss that one, and of course you can't miss the next one, Magnus Carlsen versus NVL. And then let's actually see, guys, do you think this rematch is going to be inevitable? Who in the chat thinks this is going to be the inevitable rematch in the Speed Chess Championship? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you think, Paul?
So, I'm a really big MVL fan. I like the way he plays, and it's no secret that I have basically the same opening repertoire. So I play the Grunfeld as black, I play the Sicilian Najdorf as black, and I play lots of Sharp E4 stuff as white. So I just love NVL. But this matchup, it feels like it's a really enjoyable matchup to see. And so I'm really torn. I can't, I can't both root for the matchup and root for MVL to win. So I'm a bit torn both ways.
Yeah, that's funny. Of course, I'm going for Magnus because Magnus just shows all type of different level chess. I mean, he's like so many legends combined, and then he's himself at the same time, which is absolutely just phenomenal chess. It's always a pleasure to watch that man play. And of course, Hikaru is a fan favorite, which is a legend and also getting stronger. That's even scary to say. Like, yeah, Nakamura getting stronger. Like, what? That's scary. That's very scary. So it's gonna be awesome chess. I'm excited to see it myself. And what about you guys in the chat? What do you guys think? Who's going to win it? Who are you guys going for the Speed Chess Championship? We would love to know who is your pick for the Speed Chess Championship. And does anyone have an accurate bracket up until this point? We do have brackets for Speed Chess Championship. Does anyone have an accurate bracket up until this point? Anyone in the chat have an accurate bracket? He's on the roll. Naka all day. We got Magnus rooting for MVL. 60% chance for Naka to cross. So, in my opinion, Hikaru.
How many people in the chat rooting for MVL just like me?
We
That's
saw
what I
one
want to
so
see,
far.
right?
We see two. We got two. We got two
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Two for MVL. Magnus is always my pick from BGH. Mags from Jay Brazo. What's up, man? MVL, there's another one. All right. MVL is nice, right? MVL is an underdog. Like, people just like forget about MVL. But then he comes up and shows up. And before COVID, he was winning every game in the candidates, right? So,
oh yeah. Loved seeing his games in the candidates. Wish they would have finished just because I like seeing his high quality games. But you can't forget about Wesley So too. Wesley So is very, very strong in these events, right?
Yeah.
In order to see Magnus versus Hikaru is going to have to beat Wesley So first. And, from what I've seen from Wesley So, he's a very intuitive player and, plays really well in these fast time controls as well. So
yeah,
I remember he did well in the Fisher Random.
Yeah, he beat Magnus.
Event
He's
there.
the world champ. World champ at Fisher Random. You talk about world champ in chess, Magnus Carlsen. World champ in Fisher Random, that's Wesley So. Absolutely. He's a beast from the East. He may not be from the East, but of course, right, he's a beast. We know this, and it's just going to be awesome to see that high-level chess. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to watch, these guys play and to learn from it as well. Hikaru will win it all, so we'll play Magnus. Hikaru for the loss. I mean, the chat's going crazy right now. So is having a great 2020. Yes, he is. Yes, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very fun.
Battle of the Americans there, Hikaru and Wesley So.
Yeah. Hikaru and Wesley So there. Hikaru, man, I think it's gonna be Hikaru Magnus So, to be honest. But Wesley So, and you can't count on MVL. Like, it's very hard. I think if we just had to pick, though, I think it would be Hikaru and Magnus, just based off of numbers and looking just at it real quick. You didn't have to say much. You would just have to say, you know what, it's Magnus and Hikaru. Because Hikaru, you see it all the time. Wesley, look at behind the scenes. What'd you say?
Sorry. Look at the lead that Hikaru's had over the other two players that he's played. He's gotten 21 points in the top 8 and in the top 4, whereas Wesley So has gotten 18 and 16. So Hikaru's been a bit more dominant in those earlier games too. So, Hikaru's, at least from my intuition, says that he's a favorite there, but I don't know that he's a strong favorite. Just maybe a mild favorite.
You mean Hikaru?
Yeah, because he scored 21 points against Fedosseev. He scored 21 and a half. And before that, in his top 8 game, he scored 21 points. And those are very high scores.
Yeah, that's
like Hikaru's in form right now.
Right. He's in great form. And he's playing these guys, like, blitz rating online be 2,900, 3,000, and he's up astronaut. Like, he's like beating them like engines, which is absolutely, you only see Magnus do that kind of work. So we are seeing it may be inevitable. He's also number 1 right now. I mean, he is the number 1 seed, be over Magnus here. Now, it is blitz, and also Magnus is doing his own work. He's playing. He's in form as well. So we don't know. And also Wesley's in form too. So, like, this is going to be a battle. I'm excited to see. I don't know what's it really going to be there. I think it's going to be close in the Hikaru Wesley So match. I think it's going to be close, but I think Magnus is Hikaru is going to edge that one out.
Well, here's the big question for you. If it is Magnus Hikaru, who's going to win?
Magnus.
Magnus?
Yeah, I think Magnus. Yeah.
Is For you, is Magnus a strong favorite? Like, is he going to destroy Hikaru? Like, what are you expecting?
He's not going to destroy Hikaru. Yeah, he ain't going to destroy the Hikaru. I don't think there's anyone destroying Hikaru anymore. I
Mhm.
mean, he's just, a different level now. But Magnus is Magnus. Like, he's been world champ. He's been top dog for, forever, it feel like, but he's only progressing. Like Gary Kasparov had a interview or something he was doing, some commentary or something, but he was like, yeah, Magnus is just steady improving. The world champ even improves his game. So there's no reason why we shouldn't. But at the same time, if he's improving his game, then that means he's only getting better than the best. That's crazy. He's getting better than the best. So, I don't know how that's going to look. I think it's going to be close, but Magnus should edge it out.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, Hikaru has been scoring very well, and Hikaru has been
Right.
doing very well, and he's done so pretty well in the Speed Chess Championship. But nobody so far has shown like Magnus has lost games, Magnus has lost tournaments, but he's not been consistently defeated. He's just got a level of strength and consistency that nobody's been able to match for nearly a decade now, right? I don't know how
Right.
long it's been, but
what do you guys think in the chat? Who do you think is going to win the Naka Hikaru match if it goes to the finals like that? If the match is inevitable, who's going to win, Hikaru and Magnus? Let's get it in the chat right now. Let's get it in the chat. Who are you guys going for? Kyrex says, I think Hikaru can be Magnus. We got Magnus from Calm. Hikaru 100%, no doubt, from Dukin TV. Mags, we got Mags, a lot of Hikaru. Hikaru easy. He says easy. Man, just so much in the chat. Truskane. Oh my goodness. Truskane with the Hikaru emotes.
this is split pretty 50-50 actually. I'm
It's
looking at this chat. I
Somebody
see
said MBL.
I see.
MBL. They call your boy right there, MBL. Right. That's funny. Oh man. Hikaru hands down. Hikaru wins because he never tilts. He says, whoever wins, it will not be easy at all. That is correct. This chess is never easy. This is that 3,400 chess online, right? 3,400 plus. It's ridiculous, man. Engines are, like that. It's engine play. Really, it's so strong. Best of the best. Hikaru wins blindfolded. Okay, you have lost your mind now. Radioactive, bro. He has lost it now.
I mean, even though I disagree, these players do play very strong blindfolded too.
I know, it's pretty scary. Pretty scary. Multiple boards too. Who was that? Timur Garib with the record?
I don't know. It's crazy. I know that they could do like 50 boards blindfolded
Yeah.
at the same time.
I don't know what
Some
the
of these
record was.
blindfold.
I know he did 30 or something. Timur Garib did like 30. Or I don't remember, bro. It was so many games, guys. I was like, wow. James Canty will take it all. You know what? Hey, appreciate it. Ice King Frost. Maybe one day I'll play in that. Funny. Timur Garev. Yes, Timur Garev. Great guy. Awesome grandmaster. Super fun as well. Very vibrant, social, stuff like that, guys. So yeah, but we are waiting right now, guys, for the finals. So shout out to everybody in the chat sticking around with us, guys, so we get to final bracket here. Make sure you come back tomorrow. Do not leave, guys. Do not leave. Come back tomorrow. Hang out with us again for the final bracket. Again, it's going to be 8 players, KO. It's going to be a knockout match, which is very simple here. But when you get locked in and you're playing somebody 2 games and you lose the first one, you are dire. You have to win the next one. So that's going to be very hard for some people, like especially when you get in the tilt mode. If it's a 2-game match, you got to realize that what you have to do is not, if you lose the first one, you have to win the next one. If you win the first one, you can actually take a draw in the second one to be able to clear the match if you need to. So you're actually really playing for 2 results. 8-player KO, 2 games, 10-2 with the tiebreak of 2 games, 5-2 Armageddon, guys. And here is the format, actually. Here we go. Now, this is the invitational stage format. This is when this is after the bracket tomorrow. What it's going to be is it's going to be 8 players that enter this invitational stage. 2 are going to be from the qualification stage, 4 from US Chess, and 2 from Chess.com. The round robin is going to be 90 plus 30. So what that is, guys, if you're not familiar, it's going to be 90 minutes plus 30-second increment. Okay, going to be pretty awesome. So then we're in the order, drawing lots to determine the order. So that's how they're going to see who goes where or when and how. So hope you guys are excited. Once again, guys, it's going to be all the way through December 18th. So a lot of chess to be played. Speed Chess Championship as well. Is it over for today? We are calculating the results right now. So once we have those, we will give them to you guys to see who goes into the final bracket tomorrow. Okay, comments. Your rating, mine's 1,000. Nice, nice. Timur is a guy who wore shorts against rules. Timur does anything he wants. It's just Timur great. Like Timur played 48 boards. Yeah, he also he was skydived or skydoved, I guess that's the term. Yeah, out of a plane with a chessboard. It's pretty sweet. There's footage of that.
Were they like magnetic pieces? I mean,
I don't know what
I,
kind of pieces they were because it was like they did fall actually. Like he was in the sky and the board was still there. So they had to be like magnetic or something. But I was like, wow, like he's skydiving with a chessboard. Who would have thought to do that? Timur Guriev. He does. Like he does that kind of stuff. He's a very vibrant guy.
it's kind of funny to imagine jumping out of the plane and all the pieces fly everywhere. And well, there goes my skydiving chess, right?
Just take a picture of the board in the sky. That'd be funny. Yeah, he is insane. There's a lot of stories on Timur. Very, very fun grandmaster. And I think I saw in the chat 48 boards from Metal Eagle. What's up, man? He played 48 boards at one time. 48 boards blindfolded. That is insane. I mean, how good are you at blindfold, Paul?
I could play blindfold chess, and actually, I was a bit unusual in the sense that I could play blindfold chess when I was like 1200 because I wasn't focusing on getting better at chess. I was focusing on learning blindfold. But right. I have a lot of trouble playing multiple games well. I can keep multiple games in my head. I could play it, and I'll lose. So one of the big skills for blindfold that I see is being able to play a lot of games and play them well. That's tough.
Yeah, playing them well. I've actually never.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I played a little bit of blindfold, but I wasn't that good at it actually. Now I'm much better at it now. Like I love blindfold now, but I won a bet one time, $100 somewhere. So I was like, oh man, let's go. We'll take that. All right, cool guys. Let's take a break. Not break. Sorry. Let's take a look at the bracket. It's up. Thanks for sticking around with us today, guys. Here it is. Okay, here we go. Moving on to the U.S. Chess final bracket tomorrow. Shout out to the 8 players right here. Congratulations, claps at home, and all that other stuff. Here it is. Number 1, Dretch, Grandmaster Dretch, and with 2846, scoring 5 out of 7. We have Ilshan in second place, 5 out of 7. Christopher Yu, the young phenom, the prodigy, 4.5 out of 7. With third place, Bean Screen in fourth with 4.5 out of 7. You have Penguin GM, which is Andrew Tang, 4.5 out of 7. Speed of Light, I think that was his name, 4.5 out of 7. International Master, very strong. Then you have the man, the myth, the legend himself, as he flexes, as we say his name, Greg Shahadi, 4 out of 7. He qualifies, number 7. And then number 8 is Ji Young, actually qualifying at the last game. The last game, he took a draw, or actually won, and ended up qualifying. Look at him. So shout out to everyone there, guys. That was the top 8 that you will see tomorrow in the final bracket, which is going to be much fun, guys. Let's actually check out the bracket one more time. The 8-player bracket, guys. This is what they're going to be doing for tomorrow. Here's the format. 8-player KO. You saw all 8 players there. And now we're going to have to, it's a knockout portion, 2 games, 10 minutes, 2-second increment, which we didn't have today. So that's going to make a big difference in flagging, guys. So let's see what happens with the flagging tomorrow. A lot of strategic plays should be tomorrow with 10-2 tie breaks with the 2 games of 5-2 Armageddon, guys. So, all right. Well, that was awesome. Hope you guys come back tomorrow. You should be here tomorrow, same time. Hope you guys enjoyed everything. You guys are awesome. It's all about you. I appreciate you guys being here today. Paul, do you have anything to say to the fans today?
No, I'm just glad that I'm able to commentate with you, James. I mean, you're a fantastic commentator. Just love being here, and I love commentating alongside you, and I'll be here tomorrow too.
Awesome. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great night. I'm National Master James Canty III here with Paul Terwillinger, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.